Hello, good evening, and welcome to New Forest Morse. Tonight we've got Courtney and Stephen joining us tonight from Leviathan Snakes. So, welcome to the show, guys. Lovely to have you here.
Hey, what's going on, man?
Good, and we've got a few people already in the house. We've got Jeremy Wharf from Warfels Morphs that's in the house. He's first in, and followed up by Phil Snyder. So, welcome to Phil and to Jeremy. Thank you for joining us on tonight's live. So, I'll just share a couple of those comments with everyone. Thank you, Phil. And they're saying hi to you, Stephen Courtney. So before we get going, I think what we're going to do, we'll start off with your intro, which I think my son has sent me this. So let's start with your intro. It's a very short one. We just wanted to just get it out there. And what I'm going to do is I've got a slide presentation which I'm going to go onto the live screen now. And if we go to that one there, so let's start off, if we may. Can we just start off with your logo? Because first of all, who came up with the idea of the name, and who came up with the idea of the logo, and how long have you guys been building it, and how long have you been doing it, guys? What's the background on that one?
So the name was actually, that was my idea, was Leviathan Snakes, and it's kind of a silly reason. My favorite book, when we started off, we thought we'd kind of brand it towards being really big readers, because that's what we are and were at the time. Like, that was our big interest, is we were really into science fiction and fantasy novels. So my favorite book series is the Expanse series, and the first book is Leviathan Wakes, and it was kind of funny that Leviathan Snakes sounds exactly the same. So it was a joke, and the Expanse is a science fiction series, so we wanted the brand to be science fiction. We wanted it to be space themed, and my original idea for the logo was a planet with a snake wrapped around it, and I asked Stephen if he could make it, and that's when he came up with the logo.
Yeah. So, and it is just pretty much like taking what she wanted into Photoshop and just kind of doing best to my ability how I can design it, because I'm not a designer. I can like do enough to get by, but that's the extent of my abilities.
Okay.
So originally, it was a little different, and he did you buy, or he got?
It was like stock snake thing.
Yeah, it was just a stock photo of the snake with the flowers on it, and then he photoshopped together, the two purples to make the planet, and made it a planet. So that's how it originally started off, and then it kind of grew from there. It became I don't want to say more the sleek, and we really like how it looks now.
Yeah, I love the space theme. Now, you're into science fiction. Are there any particular science fiction novels or films that you guys like? What's the what are the shows or films that you guys are into?
So most of it's books for us. Mm-hmm. For me, I lean a little bit more towards fantasy. We both like science fiction and fantasy. My favorite author ever is Brandon Sanderson. He is the author behind the Stormlight Archive, Mistborn, as well as he finished The Wheel of Time from Robert Jordan. After Robert Jordan died, Brandon Sanderson wrote the last 3 books. Okay. He's my favorite author.
And then the Expanse series is my favorite series, but it's the only actual space drama science fiction that I like. I'd say that my other top science fiction would actually be the Broken Earth trilogy by Enchi Blade, which you could probably argue that that's fantasy, but I think it's science fiction. And it's just anything that has that otherworldly or magical underplot, but still has a very solid, strong plot within the book, because I feel like sometimes it gets the magic or the science overpowers the actual story, and so those are books that I really enjoy.
Yeah, I like the fact that on your channel that you're connecting not just with ball pythons and snakes and reptiles, but it's nice to share with the community that you have an interest outside of snakes as well, because I know in one of your videos that you guys put out, you're talking about the importance of bonding with your community, and you're finding there's people out there that loves scientific films and novels. And I think it's great. It's the same with me. I'm often talking about fishing, and there's quite a few people in our hobby that love to fish. So I just think it's lovely because you're personalizing your channel and you're letting people know what your other interests are. And I think it's much easier to kind of bond with people when you're kind of sharing similar interests outside the hobby as well.
Mm-hmm.
So
100%, 100%. I think it's like a core piece of crafting like a successful, effective brand is finding those similarities between the brand and the audience.
We've also made tons of friends through this, and so it's really cool when one of those friends has outside interests other than just snakes, because everyone in the hobby likes reptiles, but it's extra cool when they like other things in the same.
Yeah, we've got Jeremy, as you know. Jeremy Warfell's a massive Star Wars fanatic, and he just loves that show and all the movies. And he's even got a separate YouTube channel on all the memorabilia. So he's really into it, and I think Gershon is very much into his movies as well. I know he likes the Marvel movies and things like that, but I think there's an awful lot of people out there that enjoy the the scientific based films. It's interesting that you also spend a lot of time in books, because I must admit I'm not much of into books, but I do enjoy a really good film. Are there any particular films that you guys like on the sci-fi side, or are you mainly into the novels? Or
so I really liked one thing I'll say, Dune, the new film that came out on the book, not the 1980s one. I liked it a lot on terms of how faithful it was to the book, but it didn't make a good movie. No. Like she hadn't read the book.
So I read Dune after I watched the movie, and after I read the book, I was like, "Oh, the movie was great." But watching the movie and not having read the book, it was really tough to follow. So
it's like you had to have read. It was
cool, but yeah. So when it comes to movies, I kind of like cheesier science fiction movies. I like The Fifth Element. I like, did you watch the Cloverfield movies?
No, I haven't watched those.
Cloverfield Lane and Cloverfield, what's the one with
it was like an alien invasion.
I really enjoyed the Cloverfield.
Okay.
I can't remember the one that just came out with Roy from the IT Crowd in it.
I don't know.
I am gonna have to Google it because the Cloverfield Experiment. But that was a really good one. Almost more like suspense, but there are movies like you enjoyed Interstellar, and
I really liked Interstellar. I think
I watched that one.
Movies, I tend to like horror more.
The Cloverfield Paradox. Sorry, it's a really good movie. I think it's on Netflix, and y'all should watch it. It's really good.
I think there's an awful lot I hadn't seen, but I have watched Interstellar, and I really enjoyed that. I like something which has got good technology, but also a good storyline, and it's exciting. And also, I think when they do these movies, they speak to experts that actually understand the real science behind everything, and they try to bring that in. There was one, what was the one that we had with, was it Mars? There was one about Mars where they were actually planting potatoes.
Mark Watney and The Martian with Matt Damon. That was a really good one. I really enjoyed that movie.
Yeah, I enjoyed that one.
And they added it into
the Expanse series that I've read, they reference Mark Watney, they reference The Martian as if it were real world. So it's not the same author or anything. I think they got permission into it to do it and everything. But in the Expanse series, there are ships named like the Mark Watney, because in that world, Mark Watney actually existed and was the first
Martian.
man, to get stuff. Well, not first man, but
Yeah, I think I enjoy the movies and the books that actually are close to real science, because it kind of gives you a vision of where things could be going, because we know that they're building spacecraft to take people to Mars. I mean, it could actually happen in the next 10 or 15 years, and it's really exciting to see how far we can push the frontiers. But thank you for sharing that with us, because I think it kind of gives us a good background as to the logo choice, how that fits into what you're doing. How long have you guys been breeding snakes or reptiles, or keeping snakes and reptiles?
So I've been keeping reptiles for quite a while. I kept actually turtles before I kept snakes. And so I kept turtles, I kept aquatic turtles, and they are a lot of work keeping the tanks clean and everything, and they're expensive, especially for a high schooler and a college student. And so we actually were on a live that for a second I forgot that she was a fish keeper, and I was about to say, and I hated keeping the tank clean and keeping up with aquatic animals, and I stopped myself just in time before I said that on her live. I felt really bad about that, but I actually did not enjoy keeping aquatic animals as much as I enjoyed the turtles themselves. And so when I wanted another reptile, I really wanted a snake, and it was between a corn snake and a ball python, and I wanted the ball python because they were bigger and had more patterns and colors to choose from.
So we got our first ball python in
2020.
March of 2020.
Yeah, so it's been a pretty short amount of time.
Yeah. So your journey's been very similar to mine. Jared was breeding a couple of years before. I think he started in 98. He had his first clutch and showed me them. I was scared of them, and he introduced me to his clutch. And so suddenly I realized that snakes are not to be feared because I think there's something in our heads that when we're growing up as kids, we're taught that to avoid snakes, be careful with snakes. But in reality, when you have a friend or family member that has a pet snake and they introduce you to that pet snake, it helps you overcome your phobias and fears, and you suddenly realize that this is actually a beautiful reptile that wants to enjoy spending time with me and vice versa. And I think it's just lovely that we can break down so many of these barriers by actually sharing a hobby with family members and friends and just getting into the community and trying to help people understand that there's nothing to be frightened with these snakes as long as as long as you're handling the right kind of snakes, of course. Non-venomous and yeah.
So I had gotten our first ball python, and I'd had them for a little while, and then a friend from when I had lived in Asheville, North Carolina, I was so sorry.
That's okay.
Sorry.
So,
that's what I was trying to avoid in this.
No worries. So
her husband had actually hatched out a clutch of ball pythons, and it was only about a month after I had gotten him, so I was particularly interested in them having a clutch of them because I was like, wow, I just got a pet of those, and you guys breed them? That's amazing. And she was like, yeah, it's just something my I don't know if my partner does. And that was when I was like, okay, so this is something that just anyone can do. They could just have a clutch here and there. And that's what got me looking at Morph Market, looking at the different combos. He had made a super banana. He had shared on Facebook that he, in his very first clutch ever, had produced a super banana, and I thought that was amazing. And it was just someone I didn't even really talk to anymore. Seeing them do that was what was so cool to me.
Absolutely. No, that's brilliant. Now, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to just share the slide presentation to remind me. Now, I wanted to show this slide because introducing Penelope, your beautiful daughter. Now, this is the day she was born, and I think Stephen was there in the hospital.
I actually wasn't really cool with that picture at first, but Stephen was super excited. So.
Yeah, but what I thought about it is that it's a beautiful experience having a baby coming into the world, but it's particularly for both parents, more so for the mother. You're absolutely shattered at the end of it, aren't you? You're kind of thinking, oh my goodness, I've got this beautiful baby, but I've worked so hard to bring this baby into this world. And I think it just
pretty much how it is.
It captures the joy of the moment.
Boy,
Yeah. So did you? It's only 2 weeks that Penelope came into the world, and she's your first baby, isn't she? So many congratulations on.
Yeah, she's my first biological child. We have a 6-year-old as well. So Stephen's son lives with us and his mother up in Illinois, so he comes back and forth, and hasn't gotten to meet her yet, but that's coming up soon, a couple weeks.
Okay. Oh, that's lovely. Well, I know that Penelope, you put her out on her first show last week because I watched one of your YouTube channel videos and I thought, this is brilliant. I mean, Penelope's going to be falling in love with your snakes, that's for sure. Yeah. I liked it because when I was...
about it.
Yeah. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying, we've talked about it, like, if she's going to even think of them as, like...
unusual.
Yeah, she's like, yeah, like, you have snakes.
So, yeah, our 6-year-old, he was doing virtual learning in 2020, 2020. So they did, because everyone was on the computers, they did Bring Your Pet to School Day for their little spirit week. And he really wanted to bring the snake. And I was like, of course you do. And his teacher was like, okay, put it away now. And I'm like, you're not even here. You're at the computer.
Yeah, it's funny how kids get into it because you might have heard that we had a two-headed snake last year that came out
I
of one
didn't
of
know
our.
that. That's
Awesome. I
really
didn't know
cool.
that, yeah.
Yeah, and it's funny because I was looking on doing the research for your name. I was looking at Leviathan, and it said that it's a three-headed sea serpent,
Secret, yeah.
a sea serpent.
So that was the other thing, was that it was this serpent, yeah.
Yeah, and it was a three-headed sea serpent. And my grandchildren were so amazed by it when I showed them it. They sent pictures to, and they actually did a project at school about them. And we ended up donating the snake to the Natural History Museum in London because it was so severely kinked,
cool.
which is lovely because they've now got that as an exhibit, and they're doing the science on it all. Because I think it's 1 out of 100,000 eggs are two-headed. And that was our 50th egg. So the odds of hitting that was incredibly remote. But yeah, so let's have a look and see. We've got some new people coming into the house. So we've got Grey Rider Reptiles. Welcome to the show. And we've also got we've got Blue Ridge. I think there was Blue Ridge Pythons.
Blue
So
Ridge.
yeah.
I'm,
Now, are you
I'm
familiar with Blue Ridge? Do you know Blue Ridge Pythons?
so I lived in Asheville, North Carolina before I moved down here, so I don't know them personally, but
They're on Adam's Lives all the time, and we're waiting for them to make their YouTube video. I don't know if they've already made it yet, but...
Okay, I've got some pictures because in the show, what I do is do a little bit of background on where you're based, and also I do a little bit of family research on your family name. We were going to come back to that in a second. But Blue Ridge Mountains, I thought there's a song called The Blue Ridge Mountains of Virginia, but I'm guessing that the Blue Ridge Mountains cross over several states, do they?
Yeah, it's a huge span of states. So
Okay.
Georgia, Virginia, Tennessee, North.
Because when I was doing my research, I was thinking, I thought these were in Virginia, but it's actually it covers quite a few. But no, that's fine. So welcome everyone to the show. Now, what I've got up here is I've got your YouTube channel. Now, can I just say, you've only been doing this for just over about a year and a bit, and you've already hit 1,000 plus subscribers. It's 1,170 subscribers. So all I'd say to you is many congratulations. We've just hit 1,000 last week, and we've been doing it for 18 months. So you guys have done incredibly well to get there so quickly. And I just wanted to just show people the YouTube channel with some of the content that's on here. Now, if I can go to my live screen, I've got to just see if I can add that to the stream. Just bear with me a second. There we go. So there is your YouTube channel. And I think the last one you put out 3 days ago was Impulse Buying Snakes. Now, you guys just came back from a show and picked up a snake, which was a gorgeous snake called Ember. And just remind me, what was the genes in that snake you just picked up from the show?
She is a banana mahogany asphalt black pastel. Michael sold her as a possible black pastel, but she's black pastel.
Oh, and I look at her, and she's definitely got black pastel in there. She's absolutely gorgeous. And she's got, did you say she's got mahogany in as well?
Mm-hmm. Would you like me to pull her out?
It'd be lovely to see her. Yeah, we could do that. Yeah, if it's convenient for you guys. Let me just put. Yeah, I'll put you on.
Sorry, if it's not a good time.
No, it's perfect. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just go on to. Let's go on to double screen, and then I'll probably put you on this side, and then I think I can get you guys big. Let me see if I can get you big.
So she just moved into our regular racks because she's out of quarantine now.
She's lovely.
I'm just trying to get it in the camera, but that is her.
She's absolutely.
And the light's a little weird, but she is beautiful.
Yeah. So I love, you've got 2 darkening genes in the banana, so that's going to absolutely be stunning going forward when it produces animals for you. What are you thinking, when she's big enough, what are you thinking of pairing to her?
So because she has that asphalt, one snake that we don't have yet, but we would like to pick up is a leopard ivory male, because we have a lot of freeway animals. We have a lot of yellow belly and a lot of asphalt. So one of her pairings, we have a banana Enchi OD asphalt male, who's a female maker, and then we would pair her to him. But honestly, I don't even know how we would ID that clutch. And then we would also want to pair her to that leopard ivory male and get freeways with leopard and then all of her genes.
Oh, so a freeway in there with leopard is a very similar project. We're trying to hit a highway leopard combo,
Oh, nice.
but we're trying to get orange dream in there as well. But I do think that the banana freeways with potentially you have mahogany in there as well as what was the other gene you said? Black pastel in there.
Black pastel and mahogany black pastel, and then we have another asphalt mail with orange dream, banana, enchi, and asphalt. I already said asphalt. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay, that's beautiful. Now I'm gonna just let me just see if I can go back to this one here. Okay. Now, on the multimedia side, you've also got a beautiful website that you've got up here. Now, I've got here your website. Now, you use your website predominantly to sell snakes as well as to give people the opportunity to go on to what you're calling a clutch call newsletter. So, perhaps you can just explain how that works, because I'm really fascinated about how you're using your website to help promote your business and to communicate with potential customers as well.
Yeah, so the website stuff is like more things that like I've done on it. We haven't really used it a whole lot yet. Like we've made it and it's there, but
We just put it out like
Yeah.
a month ago, maybe.
yeah. The part of it is that we want to try to align the conversion process as much as possible to what people are already comfortable with. So like people in the hobby are used to going onto Morph Market and buying like a pet. But if you are somebody who's never bought a snake online before, you're probably going to be more comfortable going to a website like this, where you could find the animal you want, add it to a cart, purchase it with a credit card, do the online checkout through the website, rather than like sending a message on Morph Market being like, hey, is this animal available? Yeah, send me PayPal friends and family. We wanted to make it seem as professional as possible for the website. And then the Clutch Call newsletter, that is in order for us to be able to track all of the people who've expressed interest in the various different projects that we have. And just pretty much, it's not so much saying like they have to buy a snake. It's just if they're interested in a sunset that we're going to hopefully we'll produce this year, or a het sunset or freeway or something like that, they can sign up that way, so that way they will be notified whenever we have a clutch available. So.
See, I love that idea because. And how long have you guys been running this? Has this been your first season that you've done this, or did you do this last year?
We didn't have the website last year. We sold pretty much, I would say, 80% of them at one show last year, and then the rest
On Morph Market and then through Instagram.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now I was thinking, with your Instagram being so large, and I've got your Instagram account here. So you've got over 8,600 followers. Let me just go large on this if I can. So you've made 809 posts. Now, how long have you been running your Instagram?
August of 2020.
So it'll be 2 years in August, and it started off pretty rough. It was me just posting pictures, and I was like making like PowerPoint slides to talk about the snakes. It was rough in the beginning because I was doing it myself, and Stephen made a huge difference with his social media knowledge.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking at that. 809 posts over less than 700 days. You're doing at least a daily picture being...
At least dailies.
Right now we're doing about 2 a day. We do a reel a day and a picture post a day.
Yeah. So when you say a reel, is this like a small video showing your current developments going on? So instead of putting out a massive YouTube video, you might do like a 30-second clip of what's going on in the facility.
That is a really good idea, and we are going to steal it. Yeah. But so right now, for the most part, there's some reels that aren't like this. For the most part, we are approaching reels as if they are a picture of a snake. So normally, whenever you take a picture of a snake, you just put the snake in pretty lighting and you snap a picture and you're done. Our reels are very, very similar. We put the snake in a pretty lighting, but we hit record instead of just snap a picture, and then we move the camera into different angles. And then we put those together into about a 10-second-ish long video, and we kind of sync them to music. And we have reels, like I think we just have one recently that's hitting like 70,000 views.
And that's not all of them.
Yeah.
But like when you post consistently enough.
Mm-hmm. I would say consistently we get about 5,000 views in our reels.
Wow, that is amazing. So you've got 8,600 followers. You're following 1,000 other people. So the ratio between people following you is 8-1, which is very, very high. And you're putting out quality content. Let's have a look at some of the content you're putting out, if you may. I'm just going to just show you some of the pictures. Now, underneath here, you've got it beautifully organized as well. And also, I've noticed that you've got, just looking at this, Linktree as well. So what does the Linktree, so does that actually go to the US ARC to cover a lot of the current issues that they're fighting on our corner? Is that a...
No, so US ARC is linked. It's their Instagram profile if you click on the US ARC thing. But the link tree in Instagram, you're only allowed to put one hyperlink in your profile. So what Linktree does is it is a service where you can create like a Linktree profile, and it pretty much is like a landing page, like a mini website where if you click on it, and then it gives you as many links as you want. So we'll link to YouTube videos or a YouTube channel, our website, our Morph Market. So that way you can kind of bypass Instagram's restriction of only having one hyperlink in your profile.
Clever. Because I know that Tish at Python Spawn, she put a link tree on there, but she used it to promote the current issue that we've got with the US ARC of fighting our corner. She was promoting it amongst her community and giving people copies of template letters, connections with all the senators. And so that's the second time I've seen a link tree being used. It's very fascinating how, because I've always wondered, because Jad runs our Instagram, but he's saying, Dad, we've got to get to a certain size before we can start putting videos on there. And I'm thinking, well, what size is that? Because we've got about 1,500 followers, which is not bad. But you've got to get to a certain size before they'll allow you to do some things. But this is quite a clever way. Yeah.
Sorry. So I know that it used to be you couldn't put a link in your Instagram story until you hit 10,000 followers, but they just changed that so that anyone could put a link in the story.
Yep.
I know that, but I don't know about anything else.
Okay, well, it's good to know this, because I think Jad and I are going to have a chat about how we can use Instagram to better effect. Now, out of interest, with so many people following you, did you say that you are selling your snakes through Instagram as well?
Not through, that was a rough way to say that. We don't post prices. We don't post for sale animals in our feed, but we have met people on Instagram that have followed us. For example, we have someone called Low Country Healing Arts, that's her Instagram handle, who followed us pretty much from day one. And when we had our first clutch, she was very much like, I want a baby from your first clutch. I want one of those animals. So
yep, it is against Instagram and Facebook's terms of service to promote live animal sales on their platforms. Okay. Facebook is really strict about it. Instagram isn't as strict, but we will not post anything that even looks like an advertisement.
Yeah, nothing.
You'll never see us say we have these animals available, head to our Morph Market for more info. Yeah. We won't do that at all. We're just showing pictures of animals and videos of animals.
The closest thing we might say is that in our story we might say that we updated our Morph Market, but we wouldn't post any prices. But we have had several of our Instagram followers reach out to purchase animals from us. We send them our phone number or to our Morph Market.
Yeah. So Conwick's just joined us in the show. He said he enjoys Evie's content, so welcome to the show. And also we've got Kirsty, a good friend of ours in the UK, who's just joined us tonight. So thank you so much for joining us. It's lovely to see so many people coming into the show tonight. And there's a nice little chat going on the sideline there. So thank you very much, guys, for joining us. Now, what I'm going to do now is just exploring the Instagram, because I'm really fascinated by these logos that you've got at the bottom. So you split it up into your 2022 season. And then you've got what you call the terrible TikTok. Are these the terrible TikTok videos that you put out?
I'm not very good at making TikToks, so I was trying to get some traffic to our TikTok page by posting them on Instagram story, and then I just put them all right there.
Okay, that's pretty cool. And then I like it. And then you've got your shop program. Is that shop program?
Progress. Yeah.
Yep.
Our shop progress. So is that with your new facility and letting people know how that was going when you're building it? Because we're actually in their new facility now. You guys only just built that literally 3 or 4 months ago, and it looks absolutely beautiful. I love the way you've done it. I love the way that you're doubling up as a studio as well. And of course, the part of the plan was to free up another bedroom because you knew that Penelope was on her way.
Baby, yeah.
So
she
this is
a room without snakes.
Yeah, so I think this is fantastic. And my wife encouraged me to build a facility because my snakes were taking over every crook and cranny in the house. Yeah. I thought I better do something, otherwise my relationship with my wife's going to go downhill very quickly. So I think it was a really good move. And do you know what? It's lovely to have your own facility because I think it's nice to break away from the house sometimes and actually have a little bit of a breather with your snakes. And it's lovely that you can bring Penelope in as well. And she's ever so well behaved. I must admit, most new babies. Oh, it's lovely.
So the only thing about bringing her in here is we do have to definitely keep up with the rodent cleanliness, because if we go more than 7 days, the ammonia starts to build up and we won't bring her out here. So that's definitely one that has actually made us better, is making sure we don't go, because before we do rodent cleanup 7 to 10 days, now it's more like 6 to 7.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because you want to be as meticulous as you can, particularly new baby being about, and it does actually focus us. When we had the new facility, Jad and I just clean every day, and we don't have an issue anymore. Whereas when you've got your snakes spread out all over the place and you're not getting to them as often as you'd like, when you've got a separate facility, you go in there, you do your cleaning, you enjoy your snakes, and then you can come away, enjoy your home, and you go in and out of there when it suits you, and you keep an eye on what's going on. I think it's just a lovely, lovely way of doing it. So you've also got here your first clutch videos on here as well. And you've also got your sticker swaps. So we need to do a sticker swap with you guys. But this is quite a clever... This is a really clever thing here, because I'll tell you why. Is because Jared takes care of all the sticker swaps. And I've got a couple of other people. I said to Jared, I've got their addresses. I give it to Jared. And he, for some reason, doesn't get round to doing the sticker swaps. So I'm just wondering if he does something similar to you, where people can get access to sticker swaps. So how does that work? If I click on there, can I see how that works? Will it take me somewhere, or what will it do?
So those are from the story, their previous stories that we've posted. So it's all the different people who have sent us stickers, and it just goes through and
Oh, I
it's
see.
Just the story put together. Yep.
Oh, I see.
And not all of those were snake people either. We had some like artists. We had a few like camping people, other pet owners. So yeah, we had a lot of fun getting those.
I see. For a moment I thought you had a way of sharing addresses privately.
Sorry, no.
But no. So what this is actually a picture of all the sticker swaps, and you're just organising like a playlist in a way on a YouTube channel.
Yeah,
but you've got.
yeah.
I understand. Okay, I see what you guys are doing. Okay, that's cool.
So if
All right,
anybody's looking to swap some stickers, there's a bunch of people who have stickers there. So.
Yeah. That was the other thing. Is, we were kind of grinding through to find people who wanted to trade stickers. And so it was kind of like, well, if anyone else wants to do that same thing, we've got a list of everyone who we know of that does sticker swaps right here.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really cool. That's a really cool idea. That's a great way of building community. I love the way you guys do your media. It's so professional. It's so organised and professional. I love it. And let's have a look at some of your pictures, because some of the pictures most of the pictures you're posting are absolutely superb. So let's just have a little look and see what we've got going there. I love you breed your own rats as well. Now, is this one of your baby rats?
That's a little mouse. Yeah. So we have
That's
some curly-haired mice, and I like showing them off.
Yeah. So this is your new pickup here. This is Ember that you just shared with us. That's lovely. The quality of your rodents looks very high standard rodents. Your quality is very nice. And it's lovely because when people are buying snakes from you, they can see not only are they cute and friendly, but obviously they look so healthy as well, which means that your animals are being fed a really healthy diet, which is going to add to their well-being in the future. So when people are buying, they often want to know what they're being fed.
Courtney she'll get some, like, specifically it's the mice she likes the most, where she'll have a litter where there's just some absolutely beautiful ones, like a satin brindle pied that she's like, we can't feed this off, and then she'll send it to her sister to be a pet.
Yeah, we actually sell a lot of mice as pets because they're so beautiful, and I can't bear to feed them off.
Yeah, I think there was someone on a live show I was watching the other day, and they were saying that they keep back anything that looks like pet quality. They don't feed it to their snakes because they just prefer to do that. Now here you've got, I believe, is this pastel Axanthic in the middle picture here?
That's a desert ghost Axanthic, and that's not ours. We went to Bob Vu's place. We were picking up a snake, and he was showing off a bunch of his other ones. So those are all desert ghost. There's a pastel desert ghost Axanthic, and then the one that's like right there, that is a desert ghost Axanthic female.
That is absolutely stunning, beautiful animal, and he's got a lovely channel. I wish he made more videos, but that must have been so inspiring going over to his facility.
It was really cool. If anybody knows somebody who's selling a rhino,
Yeah,
he's
Bob
in the
Fu
market
is
for one.
looking for a rhino, so we will be the
Okay.
ones to find him that rhino.
Okay, that's lovely.
He has
So
this
are you?
animal sanctuary as well.
Yeah.
So they have like tigers and emus, and
Yeah.
they want a rhino.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
anyone on here that knows a rhino dealer, we know a guy.
Yeah. Put if you know where Bob can get hold of a rhino, guys.
Please
put
let me
it.
know, because I want
yeah.
to be the one to find him his rhino.
So talking about your projects, obviously this is quite a nice way because I do know that you're into your VPI Axanthic project yourself, aren't you? You've got a VPI Axanthic. So what
Yep.
are you shooting for, guys, on that side? What are you hoping to achieve with the VPI Axanthic?
So the big ones, I mean, we really like the obviously the firefly Axanthics. They're beautiful animals, and we have a chance of making those next year. We also have a banana in Axanthic, and we are going to be putting like clown in Axanthic. So right now we have a pairing that would make pastel banana double het Axanthic clowns. So it's they're combinations that aren't like leading it, like they're not world's firsts or brand new ones for our Axanthic project, but we are we just really like how they look, and we wanted to have a few and put a few out.
So one kind of cool thing about the Axanthic project for us and like where it fits in, Axanthic was probably the first project that I got really, really excited about, specifically Axanthic Clowns. And we super, super excited, bought animals towards that project, and it got to the point where we were wanting to get into like higher end stuff, and we were considering buying a male Axanthic clown. And the reason why we didn't buy a male Axanthic clown, there's two. One,
that was the end goal. Why would we buy it? That's what I kept telling them.
and then the other one is that we both now and at the time are really new, and we didn't have a whole lot of animals. So it's like at that point in time, we would be working against the odds trying to make it. And the double recessive and triple recessive and quad recessive projects require so many different snakes and so many different holdbacks that I don't think that a lot of people realize it. So like they know that it requires it, but they don't understand. Like we're doing notes for a YouTube video on it, and if you have a double recessive, double het to double het pairing, you need 4 clutches to get over an 80% probability that you will have hit 4 clutches of 8 eggs, by the way, to hit 1 double visual from double het to double het.
And that's not even guaranteed.
Yeah, that's not guaranteed. That's a probability. And 4 clutches. So if you have 1 double het to double het pairing, that's 4 years.
Before you get an 80% chance.
Yeah.
So we were like, when we realized how rough the odds were, we're like, okay, what if we went for just like something that's in the same price range as an Axanthic clown, but wouldn't have us like screwed on the odds as much? And that's when we started looking at like Sunset, Monsoon, Wookiee, things like that. And we ended up picking Sunset for like the high-end project.
Okay, I like your strategy because Jared and I have got the Axanthic Clown project, and we're thinking about getting a visual. There's a way of doing it to reduce the 4 years down to 2 years, and that's by taking. You could have 1 double het in the pairing, but if you also go for a visual het, in fact, the ideal scenario would be to have a clown het VPI desert, well, whichever Axanthic you like. So I'd go for a clown visual that is het for VPI Axanthic, and then go for a visual VPI, which is het for clown. Put those two together. That's a much more realistic proposition of actually hitting, and particularly if you are patient and build the female up so she gives you a big clutch. Because some of the big mistake I think we make is we're keen to get our girls breeding, and we sometimes think they're just on the edge, let's push her, and then she ends up giving you like 6 eggs, of which 2 may be slugged out. You end up with 4, and you think to yourself, if I waited a year, she might give me 10 eggs, and that'll just, So I think sometimes it's false economy doing things too quickly. I think sometimes you've got to make a judgment call, particularly when the odds are against us, to actually say another year wouldn't hurt, because it might actually mean that the clutch size is going to be much bigger. And also it gives you a chance to breed with that girl the following year because she's big enough to recover quicker as well. So I think there's a strategy here that we need to be really careful, on that. Now, I've got to give a big welcome to Patrick, and I'm sure you know Patrick because Patrick's in the house. So welcome, Patrick. Lovely to have you on the show. Thank you for joining us tonight. And let's have a little look and see. Now, there's one or two people out there that have got the... Conwick was saying something. Let's have a look. I paired a VPI to a VPI this year to make a clutch of them to power through some DG VPI Clowns. So that's interesting. So presumably he's going for visual VPI Axanthics to get a family of them together so that when he puts his heads... That's another strategy, isn't it? If you produce a whole bunch of visuals and you're not dealing with just one girl, you've got an army of girls, is another strategy. So this is what Jared and I are doing with the Panda Pied project. We've got 7 potential females that could give us a Panda Pied next year.
Wow.
My biggest problem is trying to source a mahogany pied boy in the UK is a nightmare. I just can't get hold of one because I want. I've got a cinnamon pied boy who's produced all these beautiful daughters. But I don't want to put him back to them because, number one, we know there's a kinking issue when you put cinnamon to cinnamon. I mean, you can get kinking issues. But Justin showed us how beautiful it is to produce a mahogany pied to a cinnamon pied. You can produce something very close to the panda pied, and it's going to have, hopefully, no kinking. So my philosophy and plan was raise up the army and then bring in a stud boy that then can come in and give you a really healthy clutch and bring new blood into the whole project as well. Because people forget, if you keep interbreeding with the same results, you're going to weaken your collection. So it's very important to be aware that you shouldn't be breeding too often with the same parents and brothers and sisters because you'll weaken and you'll weaken your gene pool. So it's important when you're doing your planning is to think very carefully about bringing in fresh blood all the time. I personally think anyway. I know you can get away with it for 2 or 3 times, but you wouldn't want to push it too hard. Otherwise you're going to get genetic issues. Yeah,
we see that with our mice and rats as well. We try really hard to bring fresh blood into that. With the snakes being like a non-migratory species, you know that you can do a couple generations of inbreeding, but it's something that we try to avoid almost entirely. There are a few things with some recessive genes that we know at some point we will probably pair a daughter back to the father, but that is one of the reasons we got other visual animals is so that if we have to do that, we reduce it as much as possible. Actually, right now, I don't think we have any reason to pair our visual sunset male back to very many of the hets because at that point, once those females are up to size, we will have other visual males with more genes in them.
Okay. Now you've got what I like about your collection is you're very careful who you buy your snakes from. Now the Sunset Project, correct me if I'm wrong, but the Sunset Project, you went, not only did you go for a high-end gene there, you actually went for one of the top breeders in the world, Brad Boa Reptiles. He's got a huge reputation. Now what I'm thinking,
they are awesome.
And Brock Wagner. So we got actually our first Sunset male from Brock, right? Brock Wagner.
Brad produced him,
but Brock sold them. They're kind of like a joint. They do everything. They work on them together, specifically the Sunset Project. They're in that together. And so we got our first male from Brock. Stephen had just emailed him hey, are you going to have anything available? And he was like, yeah, I just hatched this boy out. You want him? And that's how we got our first male.
That's interesting. So you're going for quality genes, but you're also going for quality breeders. And there are some sunsets that look better than others, I believe, because some people are saying that they can brown out, but yours doesn't look like it's browning out at all. It looks really beautiful. I mean, it's in shed at the moment.
He wasn't in the blue right now.
But he is in the blue, so he's not very impressive at the moment. We have heard from Brad, I believe, that there is a chance he has vanilla in him, but we don't know, and we won't know until he doesn't want to come out right now. Sorry, he's so deep in the blue, and he's...
No, that's okay. In fact, what we can do, actually, I've got your Instagram. Let me get one of him on your Instagram because I'm sure you got... I'm trying to think.
I know we've done a reel of him recently.
Yeah. Let's see if I can find How do I find the reel of your projects? Is there a quick way of doing this?
Can you show your screen on, like, the
Yep.
live screen?
Yeah, let's do that. Let me just bear with me a second. I've got so many screens to share. I've got to click on the right one. So let me just go on to here. Here we go. So if I wanted
scroll down
to...
just a little bit, and then do you see where right there it says posts, and then right to the right of it says reels?
Yeah, I've got
And
it.
then scroll down a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit more. He is the go up a little bit. The third one in that row. That's Aries.
Okay, this is beautiful because when your snakes are in blue, because you put out such good footage and quality and you're using a very good camera here, you get to see the beauty of the animal. Now, it wouldn't surprise me if there's vanilla in him, actually, looking at how bright he is. He's a beautiful example of a sunset. Absolutely stunning.
I really
and how,
hope he doesn't have vanilla. I'm not going to lie.
Stephen wants him to just be the best example of a sunset and not have that extra gene.
Mm-hmm.
Right, let me just ask you a question. How old is he, and what are your plans? What are you doing with the boy?
He was hatched in October of 2020. So he's about a year and a half old. He's about 750 grams right now. And what was the last question?
And what are you going to be putting into in terms of the future projects that you're planning to do with the sunset?
Yeah, so this year he has 5 pairings this year. And it is our clown female for double het sunset clown. He's going to our het sunset female to produce sunsets and het sunsets.
Mm-hmm.
And then our red striped yellow belly girl for red striped yellow belly het sunsets. Then in a collaborative breeding project we're doing with our friend Troy from BELS and Strikes Pythons, he is going to an ultramel female for double het sunset ultramel. And then he's also going to a pastel Enchi chocolate desert ghost female for pastel Enchi chocolate double het desert ghost sunset.
Wow. I mean, I love my. You might not know this, but I love my ultramel, and I can't believe that a sunset ultramel.
So
the sunset ultramel. Yeah.
We have one other pairing, which she isn't up to size yet. She's old enough for it, but she didn't eat well. It's our most recent pickup from Bob, and she is a super banana sunset. And if she gets up to size by like the summer and Aries is still good, we might try to pair this year. Otherwise, we'll wait till next year.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Well,
that would be a whole clutch of banana sunsets.
Okay. Now, interesting enough, looking at your videos, you've had a lot of locks. It's been very successful at locking for you because you can invest quite a lot of money into a stud boy. Like we've invested into a dreamsicle boy, and he's yet to give us a lock, and he's well over a year old, and he's about 1,500 grams. And I'm thinking, come on, when are you going to give us we've got a visual dreamsicle girl. We want to produce some visual babies to build up the collection. But he hasn't locked yet. But we've still got 3 or 4 months in the season to go, so I'm not too worried about it. But you've been able to get your stud boy locking quite early, but not only locking to one.
Amazing.
I mean, he's locking to potentially six girls in his first year, and I'm thinking. I don't know what you're feeding.
Space that out nicely.
Yeah, I don't know what you're feeding him, but I tell you, yeah, I don't know what you're feeding him, but he must be turbocharged. I tell you.
ASFs.
Yep, ASFs. We noticed that, and this is anecdotal. It's not enough evidence to actually say it, but we have one boy who locked great last year, and he was about 1,000 grams. He's probably up to about 1,500 grams, and he got lazy. And he doesn't want to lock anything now.
Yeah, he's now on eating every other week because he got fat.
Mm-hmm. And it's something that when we've talked to other people, they've noticed it too, where they try to keep their males under 1,000 grams because as they get too big, they get lazy.
Yeah, so what we've done with Bowser, our dreamsicle boy, he's 1,500 grams. We've moved him across, and we're feeding him once every 2 weeks now. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of breeders actually feed a lot of their adults once every 2 weeks, other than the girls that are ready to go anyway. So, I mean, it's probably a good policy. And we're finding with the experiment we're doing this year, with all the storm, we were hit by the storm, we didn't want to keep feeding our animals where there was storms hitting our facility and we had power cuts, because the last thing you want is an animal full of food and it can't get onto the belly heat to digest. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So we've learned that by feeding them every 2 weeks, the animal's quite happy. Because it's still pooing on the second week, it's still consuming its first meal after 2 weeks. So, and everything seems like it's doing better because we're not feeding so often. So I think we're probably going to stay with a 2-week cycle and then just step up once a week to the girls that need it when they're building their follicles, and then we'll keep our hatchlings at once a week. I think is what that's my strategy. I don't know what your strategy is. What's your feeding strategy
that's
for?
pretty much the same.
Is it pretty similar?
Now that we have the ultrasound, we can monitor follicle growth, and we know when it's important to pair and when it's not really. There's not really a point. Because last year there was one that I think we had them locked like 2 days before she even. We didn't have the ultrasound yet. All we could do was palpate, and I actually I wasn't 100% if it had been her pre-lay, and I was like, well, let's just try one more time, and I paired them, and not a week later she laid her clutch. I was like, that was probably not probably that was pretty pointless.
Yeah, you mentioned a point here which I haven't done yet, but I've got a friend who's preparing to do a collab breeding with me, probably next year. Tell us a bit about the friend that you have that you're doing the collab with, and could you just explain the benefits and advantages of doing this for yourselves and for him, and how you structure when you get the clutch? How do you structure the who gets what kind of thing so that you don't fall out as friends? Because that's always a very delicate issue. But when you've got trusting friends, I'd only do it with a friend I trust 100%. Collabs,
Exactly.
but just tell us a little bit about the
So the person we're doing the collab with is Troy from Balls and Strikes Pythons. Awesome dude. Definitely check out his Instagram. He's pretty active. He has been breeding ball pythons, I think it's for about 7 going on 8 years now. So he has a lot more time in the hobby, and he has a lot more animals that are up to breeding size. And he isn't in the Sunset Project. Or he wasn't in the Sunset Project. I guess he is with us on the collaborative breeding project. So of all of the people that are around here, he was probably one of our very first friends that we met through the hobby in South Carolina, which is where we're located at. And we kind of talked about it, went down to Daytona, and we talked about if he wanted to get to the Sunset Project, us doing a collaborative thing for it. So when he was down for it, he pretty much had multiple different females we could have chosen, and we ended up both agreeing on the Ultramel because of the Ultramel Sunset looking amazing, and then the Pastel Enchi Chocolate Desert Ghost because Desert Ghost Sunset hasn't been hit. People thought they hit it recently, actually, and that's what. But once they shut out, it wasn't the Desert Ghost Sunset. But anyways, so we chose to do those two based off of just a joint decision of us just talking about it. And when we were deciding how it would go, the way we structured it is for the Ultramel clutch. We get, as in Courtney and I, Leviathan Snakes, gets first pick of the females, and he gets first pick of the males. Which, for the most part, that's probably not going to matter that much. And then we just alternate back and forth. That's for Ultramel. And
I thought it didn't matter for first pick.
It doesn't matter that much because...
I thought we were just going back and forth on the Ultramel, and that we were only first pick for... it doesn't matter. Sorry, I'm sorry.
It doesn't matter that much on the Ultramel because if he's Sunset and she's Ultramel, they'll all be normals. But if he's vanilla and there are vanilla double het Sunset Ultramels and normal double het Sunset Ultramels, that does change the value of them. So he gets first pick of, or we get first pick of the females in that one. He gets first pick of the males in that one. For the Desert Ghost clutch, the Pastel Enchi Chocolate Desert Ghost, it flips where he gets first pick of the females and we get first pick of the males. And we just alternate through it. So we go through all the females, we go through all the males, and whoever had the first pick of the females, if there is an odd number clutch, the other person gets the extra egg. So since females are generally more valuable than males. So
because we have other animals in the Sunset Project, and the male was actually more valuable, more useful to us because we have visual females, it was better for us to get a higher gene het male, whereas for him it made more sense for him to get a higher gene het female. But we didn't want the chance where it's just first pick, second pick, first pick, second pick. Because what if there is a super high gene female, just normal double het female, and then a super high and no more females? So then you would have to spend your first pick on that normal female, and then you would also miss out on a hygiene male. And so and while I don't think either of us would do like try to one up the other person, that just made it easier where we will probably end up getting the higher gene male, he'll end up getting the higher gene female, and it'll just work out that way.
And
So,
he sent the females here, so they are here. They're actually up
In
top
our
there.
rack now,
Yeah. So he sent the females here. We've been pairing them throughout the season. Once they lay, we are going to incubate the eggs, and he will take the females back. And then once the eggs hatch out, that's when we'll like go through and make all the selection.
Thank you for sharing that, because I've learned quite a lot from doing this, and I want to do a collab myself next year. And I think what I've learned from what you've just shared with me is that do it with a friend you trust. Make sure you work out, first of all, how you're going to share the clutches before it all happens, I think. So there's an agreement up front, and there's no misunderstanding. So that's all being beautifully thought through and spoken about. But also you're very sensitive to each other's collections, because what you have and what he has is different in the Sunset Project. So therefore, when you're sharing the clutches, you're being very sensitive to what would help him, but also he's being sensitive to what's going to help you. And I find in life, if you do things on a very unselfish basis where you're helping each other in friendship, and you've explained the way you're going to go, when things actually come on the ground, things are going to be, there's less room for there to be a problem, is what I'm saying, because you've kind of thought it through really carefully. I think problems occur when you don't think through things properly, and you just basically make a decision once the clutch arrives, and then people are fighting over certain, and then people fall out. But you've kind of almost worked out the permutations and said, look, if this happens, this happens. If that happens, this happens. And that's good, because you've ironed out any potential problems before you get there. The other thing I've learned is that you're also sensitive to the fact that you have got quite a few girls that you're breeding with that boy in your facility already. So it's not correct for you to send your boy to him, because he's being sensitive to the fact that your boy needs to reside there because he's got a job to do amongst your collection. So he's also being respectful. So I find it's very fascinating to kind of, this is my first experience talking to someone that's done one of these. I'm thinking to myself, I like the way you're approaching it, because I think you're taking away any things that can go wrong before it happens, which is a very sensible approach to take.
One thing on collabs, so this isn't with Troy. Troy's been amazing, and but I think one thing that makes this collab and other collabs we've talked about with other different people work is, you had kind of hit on it, is that there's mutual benefit to both people. There have been people who have approached us about a collab where there isn't a mutual benefit, where it was like, oh man, like we'd
love to get your genes into our female, and it's like, well,
yeah. It's not that. The thing that people, I think, sometimes forget about is, one, the person who is using the female, they are sacrificing half of a clutch.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter who it is. If it's us, if it's Troy, the person who has the female is saying that I want the genes that the other person has so much, I'm willing to give them half of these eggs. At least the way that we set it up. We wouldn't do a...
We've had people approach us and they're like, oh wow, you have a very powerful female, can we pair our boy to her and we'll split the clutch halfway? And it's like, well, we purchased her with pairings in mind. Like, she has 3 years worth of pairings for us, and it isn't valuable for us to just pair her to your boy and lose half of a clutch.
Yeah, I mean, the way I look at it, I've got an accounting background, and I look at it, two companies come together to merge for the reasons of synergy. 2 + 2 = 5, in other words. And I think it's the same with the collab. If you're going to put a collab together, you're doing it to help each other further your individual projects, but also sharing in a joint project. And I think it works really well if the person that's doing the collab feels they've made a small sacrifice, whether it's half a clutch of eggs for that first year, but they've got hold of, I mean, the Sunset Room, in one of your videos, I couldn't believe, I find it fascinating because I've got a business background, and your YouTube channel talks a lot about marketing, talks a lot about selling, talks a lot about strategy, because I'm into my strategy in business. That's why I was attracted to your channel initially, is because I found we were on the same wavelength. I mean, and it's a breath of fresh air. There's not many people out there that can be marketing specialists and experts sharing free knowledge on their channel. You're giving a lot. Both of you are giving a lot. And what I'm saying here is that for many of us that are trying to sell our snakes and trying to promote our communities, it's a breath of fresh air when I go on your channel and I get some ideas about building advocates and how to have good friendships in the relationships so that you're building something for the future. And I just find it really helpful because you're coming from a very strong marketing background. I come from a very strong accounting and business background, so I will share my business planning, how to build a business plan for the snake business. I need to do a video on it really because
that'd be
I've
awesome.
done, it's like, working out how to project forward your cash flow, how to project forward, how do you select which animals to breed, which is going to be the most fruitful. Besides your own passion, you've also got to remember, as the collection gets bigger, the cost of feeding, the cost of electricity, the cost of your time, and it's hard work at the end of the day, and there's a lot of cleaning involved. You've got the food to be taken into consideration. You've also got insurances. You've got the running of the facility. There's an awful lot of costs. People don't realise just how much it costs to run a facility. I reckon we're spending at least a couple of £1,000s a month on our facility.
Yeah, I don't even know because I haven't thought of how much electricity stuff costs for it.
So we're spending a couple of thousand on average, a couple of thousand a month on our facility, and I'm thinking that means to break even, we've got to generate £24,000 worth of sales. Simple as that. Okay, that means that's the break-even point for us. Now, to achieve that, you've got your collection in front of you. You've got your females and your males, and as much as we've got a passion for what we want to do, we've also got to bear in mind that you've got to produce enough money that will allow you to feed everything, keep everything clean, keep everything looking smart, then make some more money to invest in the genes that you want to bring in. So a business plan, as you get bigger, I think a business plan is a good move because then you can see where your projects are going to. So I use probability theory. I use the market value on Wolf Market to determine outcomes, and also I use the genetic wizard to work out probabilities. So I lift off my genetic wizard a spreadsheet. I can copy and paste into a spreadsheet the outcomes of the clutches. I can also lift the values of the clutches, and I can also work out what my projected revenue stream will be on each clutch pretty accurately. And then
That's
that tells, and then I just hit it really hard and say, what happens if I've got 10% slugs, or if I've got only 60% of my girls go? I hit it hard. Once I've done my projection, I then hit it really, really hard because I believe in prudence to see whether we're still going to break even if all hell breaks loose, if there's a problem or half the girls don't go. You've got to work out worst case scenario. Am I going to be able to? So I quite like it because I think it is a challenge. As you get to the point where you have a separate facility and you've got over 100 snakes, it will start to cost you more money, and you've got to make sure that whatever you're pairing will give you the cash flow to cover your overheads and to make sure you can build for the future. It's good to get your housekeeping in order. Yeah. So thank you for sharing your marketing with us, and thank you so much for your YouTube channel is a breath of fresh air. It's very stimulating. It makes me think about, because I'm not that strong on marketing and sales. I'm much more coming from a different angle on the accounting front. So it's given me strength to know that I can look at ways of marketing better, building up a better community. Yeah. So
Oh, I was just saying, I think that one of the things that people do, and I talk about it in one of the videos, I don't know which one it is, but I think that your guys' YouTube channel, we watched your YouTube channel well before we had ever met in through Adam's lives or anything like that. I think that you were one of the first people that we were watching when we got on YouTube.
Okay.
And it is that is marketing, and I think that marketing doesn't have to be somebody else who I think has an amazing YouTube channel, completely different style, is Garrick DeMeyer.
Yeah.
Very different style.
Yeah, Royal Constrictor Designs, amazing YouTube channel, bunch of great content, amazing information, completely different style than our YouTube channel, and it works for it.
Yeah. I mean, I like the fact that you're very regular because you do a Wednesday and a Sunday twice a week. And I'm learning from your model because I was doing in the early days, I was doing 2 videos a day.
A day?
2 videos a day. I was doing 2 a day. And it was mainly because we're in lockdown. I do a lot of church. I used to do an awful lot of community work in my church where I used to go out and reach out to a lot of people. And because of lockdown, I wanted to reach out to our community. So I started reaching out. We talked about loads of issues, helping families get through COVID, helping people build their collections, staying positive. We built up some lovely, lovely relationships, but it took a lot of time and energy out of me, and I decided that now's the time to kind of, rather than go for quantity, go for quality. So we're going to start to produce less content but higher quality, and maybe shorter films, because we were doing, because it was like unedited, uncut. There was no edit to them. It was literally, you see whatever we're doing, whatever goes wrong or whatever happens, you're going to get on a daily basis. And it was kind of refreshing to that point. But I've realized that people don't have a lot of time to watch 30-minute videos every day. So you've got to then really realize that maybe a 10-minute video, well done and well edited, once a week. And you can see from your channel the approach you're taking. I mean, you're on 1,170 subscribers, and you've been doing it 6 months less than us. I mean, we're very similar, but I can see that you're getting more traction, more views, because you're investing more time in the quality of the edit, the quality of the filming, the backstory.
We started YouTube around December of 2020, I think it was, and for 2020, no, because 2021 would have just
last year.
Yeah, December of 2020, because a Christmas tree was up in our first videos. And one of the things that happened is, I think at the time we were doing a minimum of 2 videos a week, sometimes 3 videos a week, and it was overwhelming.
Because Stephen was doing them by himself, honestly. He was just rolling out videos just to put them out.
And they weren't really good content, and the editing got lower. And I remember people talking about hey, you guys are a snake channel, but you guys haven't shown a snake in a while.
Yeah.
It was a thing. And then there was a break. I don't remember exactly what happened, but it was probably about a good 3 months. We didn't post any videos. And when we came back into it,
that's when we started to, Stephen decided to do one very high quality video a week consistently on a certain day. And
it's I would say, we've got, I think we may have been at 300, 400 before that break, subscribers with less than 1,000 watch hours. And it was probably around August of this year. It was Daytona, right after Daytona, of this, or 2021. So probably about 6 months. One high quality video a week has done us way better than 3 videos that were just put together to put content out.
Yeah, I like that approach. And I think, I think we're going to start to move towards, can I ask you, on your filming and editing, what camera are you using and what edit suite are you using to get such high quality videos?
So we use a Canon M50 Mark II for our primary videography camera. And then we have a couple different lenses, but the lens I like the most is a 22mm Canon, I think it's an M series. It's for the mirrorless camera, and it goes down to a 2 f-stop for the aperture. I love it. I think it looks amazing. It looks like, that's not what we're using right now. We're using an iPhone right now. But all of our regular videos, it's that Canon with the 22mm lens. We also just got a lens for vlogging that is also really, really cool. I think it goes down to 11mm. It's just really nice. I like it a lot. But we're actually doing a video this week, or a video that's coming out on Wednesday. It's all on lighting. I would say 90% on lighting. It's on starting a YouTube channel for a reptile business. But 90% of our production quality comes from lighting. It's not necessarily the camera, it's the fact of how we have the lights arranged and what lights we're using.
Yeah. So I know that before we went live, you showed me your lighting with the camera. There's one above you and there's one behind, and it makes a huge difference. I've got some very subdued light in my office at the moment. I've actually got a Canon vlogging camera. You mentioned you've got a Canon camera. That's what I'm using now. I've just switched. I've just, out of interest, from what I was filming before, which was my computer camera, is the camera quality better since I switched?
Oh yes, yeah, 100%. It looks awesome.
Okay, that's really good. Thank you for sharing that. Now, if I get my lighting right as well, then it will only go to the quality. So I think the key is to invest in a decent camera, or you can use for Instagram. He's using his iPhone, which takes beautiful pictures too. So I think as long as you've got a high-end mobile camera, you get away with that. But if, as your money starts to come in a bit more on the business side and you want to stretch out, and because I think the key is taking pictures of your snakes. So Jad does all the pictures of our snakes, and we do get better prices because we get better pictures. And when we go on Morph Market here in Europe, the amount of people that are putting their stock out with rubbish pictures is unbelievable. Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
Do you get the same issue in the US and Canada?
Yes,
not so-
I do think that it's there where, and when I get it, I understand that people who breed snakes often are not photographers, and it's a completely different skill set that doesn't have, you can breed amazing snakes, beautiful snakes that are incredible quality and really, really well taken care of, but you just don't really know how to take pleasing pictures, and it crushes people when they try to sell them. But we have the same thing. I genuinely believe that, so this is only on a snake thing. I say a real quick thing on snake. It's a lighting technique for product photography, and if you can take a soft light source, so not like a flashlight's a hard light source, something that's really big and dispersed.
Like a ring light?
Yeah, like a ring light. Ring light, you can get them at Walmart, or I don't know. You can get them for pretty cheap.
Yeah, or Amazon.
Yeah.
Yeah, for $30 probably.
A little more expensive.
Yeah. Jared bought a light box, which worked really well.
Yeah,
Perfect.
And the pictures were working well. The only problem we had, two problems. Number one, the bulb went this year, so we're not taking any light shots on that. So we need to get that sorted. But number two, one of my friends, who's very, he does make me think. He does challenge me a little bit in the sense that he will pose questions to make me think as a new breeder coming. And this is an established breeder saying that he tries not to put his snakes in too much bright light. And I understand the reason for that, because when he said, obviously, when you're taking a lovely picture, it's okay to have a snake in very bright lights for a very short period of time. But from the animal welfare perspective, he's saying that he restricts the amount of light that his snakes get to see, because it does freak them out. I mean, it can make them freak out.
No,
So I think there's a balance here. And I said to Jared, the one thing I want to do is when we take pictures of our snakes, if we use the light box, we put them in there for a short period, take the pictures that we need to market them, but let's not use the light box as a day-to-day thing, if you know what I'm saying. So I think that's a good balance and probably good guidance from a very experienced breeder. And since I've been doing that, my VPI Axanthic Pied, who hasn't been feeding, is now feeding because I was putting under the light box probably too much and not realising that I was probably stressing her. And since I've not been... Because I think we fall in love with our animals and we want to show them off. But also we've got to realise that what we're doing could actually have a negative impact on what we're trying to do as well. And I think sometimes we don't realise it as beginners. And I've learned something new, that certain animals are probably wise not to be pulling out and handling too often and putting under light, because they'll feed better and then your projects will go quicker. Because she should be 1,500 grams. She's about 400 grams right now. And it's probably because she was fed live mice in Europe when I got her. And we can't feed live in the UK, so therefore she had a problem transferring. But also the fact that I was probably overhandling her didn't help. But that's something we learn as we go, don't we? So now we've got Gershon's just come into the house. So welcome to Gershon at GP Snakes. He did a lovely video last night. I woke up at 1:30 in the morning and I thought, I wonder if Gershon's show's still going. And I jumped on his show because I've got a hip operation coming and I've got a hip problem. I'm in an awful lot of pain. So when I'm hobbling around in the facility, you see me hobbling around, it's because my there's nothing on my hip. There's no cartilage. It's completely bone on bone. But when they do the hip replacement, I should hopefully get some more movement. But I'm waking up at 1:30 in the morning, enjoying some live shows when I can't get to sleep. So thank you, Gershon, for keeping me entertaining. And he's sending out some love to you guys, Stephen and Courtney. And also, we've got a third. There's some other new people I haven't seen before. I want to welcome to the channel. Third Eye Pythons. I don't know if they're friends of yours.
Thank you. She's sleeping right now. She's being good.
Trying to keep it that way.
Yeah.
I tell you, she's amazing. I mean, I've had with my wife, we've had 5 children, and honestly, when they're new babies, they can let rip if they need to. But she's very contented. I tell you, she's very contented baby.
The nap today.
Oh, well done. Thank you. This is amazing, really. Now we've also got Hell's Balls that have just come in and joined the show as well. So welcome to Hell's Balls too, and they're saying congratulations on the new bundle as well. It's lovely to get all this lovely, beautiful, positive energy and feedback on the channel. We've got well over 20 people on our live show tonight. For us as a small channel, That's a big following for us, and we can build on that because we've only been doing this. This is our eighth show, and I think as each show builds and as people get used to regular content, I'm hoping and praying that we can build a stronger community, which leads us lovely on to one of my next questions, which is, you're very good at building followers on Instagram, you're very good at building followers on YouTube, and also you have a lot of connections in the industry. Tell us about your approach on building those. Help us newcomers coming in. Perhaps we feel a little bit isolated, perhaps we feel a little bit left out from the community. What can we do? What are some good things that we can do to build relationships and to foster friendships in the community?
This is your question. You are the expert.
At the end of this, I'm going to tease Courtney a little bit. It's so one thing that I would say is when somebody is, and this is general social media, but I do think it applies to the reptile stuff in multiple different ways. When somebody's starting on social media, there you create content and you post content, but realistically, whether it's YouTube, Instagram, anything like that, nobody, in a nice way, nobody cares. It can be beautiful, it can be amazing, but nobody really cares at that point. And the way that you get people to care about it is that you get people to know you. So I think that it's really, really important. Oh, also, congratulations, Headstand. That's awesome. But
it's lovely, isn't it? Because there's quite a few family-orientated people out there that are sharing. I'm shared. I've got 5 kids. We've got Conwick's got 5 daughters. My goodness me, he's been a busy boy. It's just lovely because as we build a community, we're kind of sharing our families with each other, and we're building up a lovely spirit in the community. And this is really what it's all about. And I think what you're saying effectively is multimedia. Like this, since I've launched the live, I'm getting to know more people that I haven't met before, because friends are introducing friends, and my guests, like yourself, you're probably going to introduce a few friends to us that I haven't had a chance to connect with. And so this is something I learned from Gershon, is he's the king of networking, as far as I'm concerned, on YouTube. He is the king, because he's had the vision about 2 years ago to realize there's a lot of very small breeders out there who are launching YouTube channels that are struggling to get any mileage, struggling to get any getting views. And so he's come up with this great idea of having a weekly show where he brings on new YouTubers and gives them a lift and shares his friendship base. And since I went on Gershon's show, our subscriber base picked up, and it gave me the motivation to do the live shows. So there's a classic. This is a classic example where in the community we're helping each other. You know.
Yeah, 100%. Like, I think that when somebody's early on, it's really, really important to personally go out, whoever the smaller breeder is, go out and engage with other people. And this can be going to other breeders' profiles, liking and commenting on multiple different posts. It is going on to lives and being really active in the chat and just making friends. And just simply, if somebody's going into a live, whether it's YouTube, Instagram, just be like, hey, this is my first time tuning in. I'm super excited. People talk to you.
Yeah, there are a lot of people that we know specifically because they're always very active. And we don't do a live on YouTube, but every time we're on a live, there are specific people that we see in the chat every single time, like Patrick or Phil. Or even Warples. We see them. We see them all the time, even though we don't even have a live. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm watching.
That's okay. You know what I'm thinking. You know what I'm thinking here, Courtney. You both come across very natural, both on your channel and on your lives. All the lives I've seen you on with Adam. I know you've been on Adam's live, and I enjoyed that. Is that you guys, if you're thinking about doing a live at some point in the future, I reckon you'll actually smash it out the park.
Thank you. We have thought about it. We were actually, Stephen had talked to our friend Sean about us doing a weekly live. And we were they wanted to start 3 weeks before the baby was due. And I was like, maybe we wait a little bit. So we are actually talking about maybe doing one on a Monday evening, doing a weekly live.
I mean, I must admit, because when we spoke about doing a live together, we spoke about this about 6 weeks ago, and I think we put a date tentatively in. And then when the baby came, and I knew that having had babies myself and knowing how busy life can get, I kind of assumed incorrectly. I assumed that you guys are going to be up to your eyeballs in nappies and you're going to be like really tired. The last thing you want to do is come on a live show. And then I think a couple of days before the original date you came up, you said to me, Paul, we're still going live. And at that point, Jaffe was all... I assumed that we were going to do it later, but Jaffe had already come in. I thought, oh, that's lovely, Jaffe. I mean, I don't think... I should have checked with you first. I apologise for doing that. But no, I assumed, and I made the wrong assumption. I assumed that you guys are going to... But that just tells me how resilient you guys are. You bounce back. I mean, honestly... A mother goes through a near-death experience when a baby comes into this world. It's a near-death, isn't it? It's a near-death experience, honestly. And like the fact that you've bounced back so quickly is testament to me how blessed you really are and how strong you guys are. Because honestly, a lot of women, in my experience, honestly, they can take months to
I'm gonna tease Courtney real quick. Well, like literally right after she had given birth. Literally, she's still in the bed. We haven't gone to the other room. Her doctor's saying like, "Oh, like you did this really fast, especially for like a first-time mom. You like were in labor less time than a lot of second and third-time moms." Courtney, exhausted right after giving birth, says, "Yeah, 'cause I rock."
I don't like not being able to get things done like completely on my own. So I like to. So it's especially with like the snakes and stuff. We have had a few things like with the cleaning out the rodents. We'll have my sister come over and watch the baby because I don't want to clean out the rodents with her in the shed at the same time. Like that's something I'm not comfortable with for her. But those things, we are still on top of it. And a part of that is I am on parental leave. Like I haven't been at work the last couple of weeks. And once I'm back at work, I'm sure it'll be much more difficult to do things like this. Mm-hmm. But honestly, it's kind of nice to be reminded that we still have like engagements and hobbies and things we enjoy doing that aren't entirely focused around her. So it's we enjoy doing stuff like this quite a bit.
Yeah. So Main Squeeze is in the house. Welcome to the house. He's actually been with us for quite a long time. I haven't given him a shout out. I do apologise. I'm just trying to keep up with all the comments. There's a really good conversation going on here. There's a lovely community building, and we're going into the mid 20s now, so it's building. So everyone's enjoying the show. Thank you for spicing up the show tonight because I think people are really enjoying hearing your journey. But also, I was going to say that I was thinking about you, Stephen, particularly because I remember as a dad, a new father, baby, thinking so much to do. And I'm thinking, how's he going to look after that collection while Courtney's recovering? And I'm thinking to myself, how do you do it? Because either Courtney's bounced back so quickly that she's back in there, or you were just like turbo.
Even drywall when she was 9.
I was hanging drywall 7 months pregnant. I don't like not getting things done. So right now, like for example, with the rodents, we kind of have something that we've worked out where Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Stephen makes sure to feed and water rodents. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, I make sure to do it, and then we both take over on Sunday, or we alternate on Sundays. So I gave birth to her on Tuesday, and I took care of the rodents on my day on Thursday. Like,
wow,
there was like
unbelievable.
There was like one day in the second week where I was like, "Can you take my day for the road?" So like, yeah, no, I have been out here. So I've got this wrap. I love this thing. I just put her in here. She sleeps. I'm cleaning. I do try to stay away from like feces and stuff while I'm holding her. But we have like a little bassinet for her we bring out here. I put her in this carrier, however, and we get it done. And Stephen will bring her out here too. Like I'll be taking a nap and we have a Ring camera and I'll get a notification and he's just like one arm holding her while like getting stuff out. So yeah, we kind of just make her work around our schedule.
One thing,
seriously
slightly off of, on the subject of the community stuff from beforehand. Before we get too far away, I do want to say it. I do think that beyond like social media, if there's a new breeder, most new breeders are probably still in the stage where they're trying to buy animals for their various projects and just family and build it up. I highly recommend buying animals from people who are big in projects. And this doesn't mean don't buy something from a new breeder. That's not what I'm saying at all. But if you're wanting to get into Sunset, find somebody that you know for sure is in the project and let them know that you are new in the project. Let them know that you're really excited about it and that you want to get into it. And they all the time, like, people are super, super supportive of new people in the hobby. At least we've experienced. Like, so, again, we absolutely love Grabbo and Brock Wagner. They are amazing. When we got the Leopard Yellow Belly Sunset from them, they gave us 2 66% het females for free. Like, because we were just starting out in the project and they wanted to help us build up our female base.
See, I love that. I love that story, and it's really good advice because I was, without having that advice, I naturally picked one of the top breeders in Europe for my first snakes, and I found his prices were very competitive. Actually, cheaper than the UK. I imported most of my snakes because they were 2/3 the price. The European market was cheaper than the UK market. And also, we just couldn't get hold of certain genes in the UK. That wasn't, otherwise I would have bought local, but I just couldn't get hold of them. So Van Haren, I don't know if you know Marco Van Haren, he's a massive player in Europe, and the personal touch, the service. I mean, he was feeding live rodents, but he knew that we couldn't feed them live, so he transferred them back onto frozen for about 3 or 4 weeks. He sent me videos and pictures. He said, look, they're eating fine. When they come to you, I'm reassuring you that they've already got moved across to frozen. They're not an issue. And I thought, how many breeders would do that? This is the level of service that when the top breeders, the really good breeders, they make sure the delivery's good, the heating is fine, the snakes aren't coming cold, they're using the right couriers, they're making sure that the customer's taken care of. Now, am I going to go back and buy more snakes from him? Of course I will, because I had a lovely experience. And that tells its own story, isn't it? It's buying from people who really want to go the extra mile. Makes you feel so comfortable, doesn't it, in the hobby? And the ones that cut corners and say, you can organise the courier, you can do this, you can do that, and they leave it all down to me to organise everything, and I'm running around and I'm paying good money for the animal, makes me think, you know what, I'm working really hard to get my animal, and you know, I want them to organise it for me and then charge me for it, but make sure you're using a reliable courier, you know. And I was just pulling my hair out with some breeders, and other breeders I was thinking this was absolutely top notch. And I think it's good advice when you're getting into the hobby. Focus on those people that are going to give you a good service, because you're learning from them as a future breeder, because you want to give the same service to your customers. But if you end up buying some snakes when the service is poor, you might think that's the norm, and you're going to perpetuate the problem. If you buy from people that know how to look after people to start with, you get a lovely customer experience. You're going to want to do the same for your customers, because that's what you're used to yourself, you know. So I think it's good advice. Thank you, Stephen, for sharing that with us.
So how are you sleeping?
I'm sleeping great.
So I do all the night wake ups. Yeah, Stephen, he gets to sleep in so that he gets to sleep at night so that I get to take naps and sleep in.
I was very lucky because Mandy, she breastfed every child, and I never had to make a bottle for any of my kids to get up and make a bottle. I was very lucky from that perspective, but not every mother can do that. So you know, and not every mother wants to do that. So Mandy wants to. Mandy did it, and she did it for quite a long time. So I don't even remember making a bottle. And she used to get up and take care of the baby. And you know, I've changed a lot of nappies. I mean, I still pulled my weight, but she was very sensitive because of my long business day. She was very sensitive to the fact that she knew I had to get up early, and I had to use my brain. And sleep deprivation and brains do not work very well together. So we had a good balance and a good understanding, and it happened very natural. But every couple, I think, has to adjust to their needs. You know, I'm not saying Yeah,
so Stephen does not do well being woken up. He does not do well with little sleep. And I am fine with that. I was pregnant, and I know how little sleep I got while I was pregnant, and I was functioning. So like before we had the baby, I was like, I will do night wake ups as long as like you take her at like 6 so that I can sleep from like 6 to 9 or something like that. And he was like, I don't think that's going to work. We're going to need to alternate nights. We're going to get too frustrated if we do it that way. So I was like, okay, well, we'll try it your way. And he had to get up with her like one night, and he was so grouchy that we went back to my way.
Do you know, there's a lot of sense in that, because if you're feeling quite grumpy the next day, and you could be a real...
Yeah, because I'm fine. And the thing is I either have to wake up to nurse or to pump, so I'm up anyway, and it works.
Yeah. No, that's really good. Okay, so let's if I may, I know it sounds really corny this, but I've got my questions on my slideshow. Let me just see if I can get my slideshow back up.
I do have a question just while you're getting like
Sure.
this all going.
Sure.
What projects are you guys like most excited about?
So Jared has a project which I'm working with on, which is a Orange Dream Leopard Highway Clown project, is what we're working on.
Nice.
And it's very similar to the one that you're working on, which is I think the Banana Freeway Clown project is you're working on. So we're very similar in the sense, and you want leopard in that as well. So
Yes.
we like leopard. I think leopard and orange. Have you ever seen the Leopard Orange Dream Highway?
I know I've seen leopard highways, but I don't think I've seen a leopard orange dream highway.
Honestly, it'll blow you away because
I'm excited.
I don't think anyone's actually produced one, to be honest with you. But I mean, we've looked at something which has had an Orange Dream Highway. We looked at a Leopard Highway, but we're looking to get pastel in there as well. And I think it's going to be stunning. But it's going to take us two years. We're producing this year a clown boy that's going to be 100. Well, a clown. We're looking to try and achieve a clown gravel boy. Now, in the UK, they would cost you close to a couple of £1,000 to get a gravel clown. The het was £700. Yeah, the het was £700. We got a gravel het clown, so we thought we'd spend £700, put it to a visual clown, and this and hopefully she'll give us. She's 20 mil follicles right now. If she gives us a decent clutch, hopefully one of them will be a boy, and it'll be a clown gravel boy. But we've got building at the moment who's almost ready a beautiful girl, which is she's called Bella, and she is a leopard orange dream pastel. What else is in her? Yellow belly, 100% het clown.
Oh, that's awesome.
Nice.
So the idea is
Powerhouse.
if we put her and hopefully we're going to produce a gravel clown boy. There's a good chance that we're going to hit the Orange Dream Leopard Highway Pastel Clown visual, which will be insane looking. Honestly, it's such a beautiful animal. So that's one of the things that Jared's super excited about. I'm excited about my Panda Pied projects because I've got an army of females. I've got to source a boy. If I can get hold of a decent boy, I'm going to have all these girls to go. If I can't source a beautiful boy, which I'm trying to get a mahogany boy, pied,
Yeah.
I've got so many opportunities. We've got a super cinnamon girl that's almost ready. That's one of our hatchlings from 2 years ago.
wow.
She's almost ready to go, but she's 100% het pied. So we've got a super cinny 100% het pied that's waiting to produce pandas if I can find the right boy to go to her. Biggest problem is can't get hold of one in the UK. I'd probably get one in Europe and probably get one in the US.
Yeah.
But they're two projects that I'm super excited about. And we've got the Dream School project, of course, and we've got the Axanthic project. So we've got a lot of things in the fire. I think next year is going to be a big season for us because all of the hatchlings that we've grown on 2 years ago are going to be up to breedable size, and we've got an army of them. I've just got to make sure I choose my males wisely, and then we start produce some high-end snakes. And I think once we get to that point, we're going to get through the break-even point, and then we'll start to make a bit of money that we can invest in higher projects. So I think year 3, they say, is the exciting. All the breeders I speak to say once you get to year 3, that's when things start to really liven up.
Can I respond to? I saw Mainly Morphs had asked who gets to pick the next snake we buy, me or Stephen. And I just thought that was a funny comment because of the way we have to battle each other. So Stephen would love to buy lots and lots of snakes, and it comes up very often that he comes to me and asks me, and I have to say no because of X, Y, or Z. And when I have a snake that I want, he just immediately says yes, and I get no like resistance at all. But I bought the second to last snake. He decided on this last snake, so I guess it's probably my turn again.
So one thing I would say, and this is specifically for me and us and all that stuff, like I genuinely believe that there can be like snake buying addiction. And that when I say snake buying addiction, I mean like that somebody who likes the dopamine hit of buying a new snake so much more, or like the feeling that they're progressing their project so much faster, that they don't actually necessarily need the snake, they just want to buy. They like the process of buying a snake.
He's saying they instead
Yep.
of I.
And I genuinely think that I have that, where if it were left up to me, I think that I would have probably already bought so many snakes that I would have overextended us, and that we wouldn't be able to be sustainable in the hobby. It is Courtney that makes sure that we aren't progressing too fast.
But I also do, when I want something, I don't get the same resistance. So I will buy things that I want for the same reason. It's just I get more support than he gets.
I like the way you do it, because when I watched your video last week and you're in the show and you were kind of smiling at each other, and I think that Courtney fell in love with Ember, you know. Mm-hmm. But
and
what
I'm
I love about
there, like, I told him no, that means I can't get her. And I get no resistance.
But what I love about your relationship is there's eye contact, and there's this third sense that kicks in. There's another extra sense that kicks in between the two of you, that Stephen knows what makes you happy. And I was thinking at the time, if my wife had gone through a near-death experience to bring a beautiful baby into the world, I mean, I wouldn't even, if I had the cash flow, I mean, I'd have to have the cash flow to do it, but I wouldn't hesitate to say no to my wife if she wanted something very precious to her, because the gift of what your wife has given you and your family is priceless. And I mean, I'm not saying that we do these things to get gains, but what I'm saying, in a loving relationship,
is worth one banana mahogany black powder.
No, that's only the beginning.
So what is, like, I do say that I tell him no. I tell him no when I don't see the same value in it that he sees. So
be like, hey, we can buy this mandarin. It's like, why? We're not in
yeah,
mandarin.
so he really wanted like a black pastel white lace. Like, that's really the same that he wanted. We don't have any other lace. So that would get us in a brand new project. It would be a number of new holdbacks. And I said no about that snake. But I did say yes to a snake 5 times as expensive when it was a Super Banana Sunset, because that is something that will further projects for us and will make us money starting this season or next season. Like, it is, and again, it's not all about the income or anything, but it is about the number of holdbacks. And this one that I say yes to won't give us any holdbacks. It would just be animals that we can produce. And
if it wasn't for Courtney, I would bankrupt.
Yeah. And he, like, it got to a point where he's like, oh, it's almost like he's like, well, let me just get this one more. Once I get her, like, it'll back off for a while and I won't feel the need. And then I'd be like, okay, we'll get that one. Next day, he wants it. So Stephen deleted Morph Market off of his phone.
Yeah, I can access Morph Market on the desktop, but I can't have it as like the app on my phone, because it legit felt like a craving.
I deleted Amazon Prime, so we're even.
No, I like the way you do things, and I think I can relate to what Stephen's been through or going through, because in my first year, I got the bug, and I was going and buying snakes left, right, and centre. I must have bought nearly. In my first year, I think I bought 60 snakes.
Yeah.
What happens?
60 snakes. I think to myself, I was so addicted to buying snakes. This year, I haven't bought any snakes at all.
And people who aren't in the hobby, they cannot vote. They're like, you bought how many? You did.
I went from 60 in my first year to 0 in my second year.
That's
because I realised
we could not
because I think what I did is, I kind of had my budget. I chose what I wanted to go for. And also there's a couple of snakes I wanted to get, I couldn't get hold of, because now I'm being really, really careful what I buy in, because now I've got an army of really good quality girls that I've bred and I've produced. The next purchase is going to be a really high-end purchase to make sure that my stud male is going to service 5 beautiful girls ready to give me beautiful clutches. I want to make sure that I'm going to give them the very best male I can possibly afford, because Jad and I have already put in 3 years of hard slog to get these girls up to size. And okay, if I have to spend, say, £4,000 or £5,000 on a stud boy, what is he going to do? I mean, he's going to produce some beautiful animals, hopefully, to all these beautiful girls that are lined up, which will then pay for itself 10 times over in the first year. So that's the time to invest. I think once you've got your army of girls, and they're good quality girls, but they need a male stud that's going to take them to the next level, then it's worth spending bigger bucks, I think, because, you know, otherwise, you know, if you end up building up so much time building up your collection, then you put in a boy that isn't really up for the job, you know, you're going to be 3 or 4 years down the line waiting for, you know. So I think everyone has to work within their budget, but I think that having spent so much time over 3 years building up your collection, it's worth getting a high-end boy, I believe, to bring those projects up is my honest feeling.
I completely agree. I remember when we first got into the hobby, and Courtney was already in it. I wanted to buy my own snake as a pet. She showed me Morph Market, and I think it was a banana Enchi clown or something like that. That was like $1,000 some. I was like, who would spend $1,000 on a snake? That's insane.
And in our first season, we produced and held back a female banana blade clown. So pretty much that same animal, which is really cool.
But so like the last snake that we picked up, the Super Banana Sunset, that was the most expensive snake that we bought. That was the first snake that we've ever spent
that much money on.
A lot of money on. The reason
I'll say it can be a bit scary when you spend a lot of money on a boy or a girl and they don't actually produce or they even die on you.
Oh, don't say that.
But no, but if that was to happen, I mean so what I'm trying to say to you is that I think that the reason why I've gone in really carefully and slowly to start with in terms of not getting top end is I've still had to learn how to take care of these animals, whereas Jared's had 2 years ahead of me. So I thought to myself, what I've got to do is make sure I can look after what we have before I invest in, you know. So what I'm saying is I think sometimes there's a good philosophy is to kind of get your groundwork down, make sure your husbandry is spot on. I mean, Courtney's been doing it a couple of years before you, Stephen, and Jared's been doing it a couple of years before me. That's why I've probably committed myself quickly to snakes that are quite high end without necessarily knowing everything about the hobby. But having a son and having Courtney gives you the confidence to know that even if I'm still learning, I've got someone by my side that can make sure that these snakes are going to be well taken care of while I'm learning how to take care of them, if you see what I'm saying.
We do talk about getting too big and like the care of the hatchlings and all that.
Yeah, because we have pretty much the shed that we're in right now. It's 12 by 20. This is about as big as we are planning on being for the foreseeable future.
But we've got a lot of holdbacks coming up. And that's one of those things that I'm a little more conscious of because I do the feeding. So I am the main one to breed the rodents, and I'm the main one to do the, like, because you said you can't feed live in the UK. I don't know how you feed your hatchlings because we get our hatchlings using live mouse hoppers. So in the beginning, that's something that I have to know that we have enough mouse hoppers for all of our hatchlings so that they can take those first meals and get started on food.
Yeah.
And I'm absolutely down to switch them over to frozen thawed or rat pups or whatever the person who's purchasing them requests that we feed them. But in the beginning, we do start them all off on mouse hoppers. And so that's something I'm very aware of. Yeah,
let me answer that question for you because, and we've learned this only over the last year. So we've got 65 babies this year that we're raising, hatchlings. And Jared is an absolute dream. He's assist fed a few of them. We've had a couple that have had slight deformities that need extra assist feeding, which we've bonded. They're all feeding by themselves okay now. And what we've learned is that when you have hatchlings coming out of the eggs, and we're so excited to get them started and get them going, most breeders make a fundamental mistake. And that's the reason why we end up with picky feeders. And that's why people struggle to feed frozen rather than live. It's because we offer them a meal too quickly. And what happens is we forget that snake, that hatchling, has been sat in those eggs. Now remember, the female's been incubating them for 4 weeks before they even come out of her. So the incubation process starts when the girl has ovulated. The incubation process has already started in the rub. So that will be 6 weeks, won't it? It'll be 6 weeks on average. 2 weeks to pre-lay shed, 4 weeks to go on the eggs. And then you're looking at another 8 weeks in the incubator. So you've got effectively 14 weeks of incubation. In those 14 weeks, the embryo is building its body from the content of the egg. So it's feeding really well, providing the mother's given good sized eggs and the healthy eggs. So when they come out of their eggs, we look at them as little cute, small little snakes, thinking, they need a meal. They don't need a meal. They can survive 3 or 4 weeks without a meal.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, what I'm saying is that in the wild, these hatchlings are designed to go without a meal for probably 6 weeks before they start to struggle, probably even longer.
Mm-hmm.
And the reality is they've got to learn how to hunt and find food. And it might take them a few weeks to get the hang of this and to find the sort of food source. So what we do as breeders in captivities, we think, I've got my babies. As soon as they've shed out, I'm going to feed them.
Mm-hmm.
And some people even try to feed it quicker than that. Now, the problem you have is that if you feed them too quickly, I think, and they haven't got the hunger to feed because they're feeding off the yolk and the whatever's in the egg.
Mm-hmm.
So what we've learnt is, Jared and I have learnt not to hurry our hatchlings into feeding, and not to get, because a new breeder comes in and thinks, they're not feeding, it's 3 weeks, they haven't fed. They're getting worried and they're getting stressed. And that's a natural process because we're concerned about our hatchlings, we want them to feed. Mm-hmm. And therefore, our anxiety is translated to their anxiety. In other words, when we're feeling anxious about our hatchlings, and because we're panicking a little bit, we then try to feed them 2 or 3 times a week if they haven't taken their meal. And then they're getting this negative response, and therefore they're associating a frozen piece of food as a negative feeding response. And therefore, when you try to get them onto it, it becomes hard. So the key for me is to feed them when they're hungry and to be discerning that if they don't want this first week, don't go and necessarily tempt them again 3 days later. Let them go for a week and let them rest. Let them get a little bit hungry. And we did that with our Purple Passion clutch. And out of the 8 snakes, 7 of them ate in the same week. And only one had to be the other one nailed it and then curled it and then left it. So we would have had 8 out of 8 with that new technique. Frozen rat pups.
Awesome.
Not mice, rat pups.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is, in the UK, we're learning this experience that I think sometimes we think that unless they've got live mice hoppers, these hatchlings aren't going to progress. If that was the case, then no one in the UK would keep snakes.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's a psychological side to this where people think, I've got to give them live, I've got to give them mice hoppers to get them going. That isn't necessarily the case, because I believe that if you are patient and you pick your time right, you can feed them frozen food as hatchlings and you'll have close to 100% success. Now, when we feed our hatchlings now, every single hatchling feeds once a week a decent meal. We don't even feed them every 5 days. We feed them once a week. And they have grown. If I show you my 2-year-old girls that are nearly, one of them, the one I was telling you about our exciting clown project, the Highway Clown Project, that girl is 18 months old. She's 2.4 kilograms and she's got 20 mil follicles and she's 18 months old.
That's awesome.
And we feed her once a week.
Mm-hmm. Now
Crazy.
I definitely think that ball pythons grow like at individual rates where they can feed them once a week and one snake ends up being 1,500 grams, and then the exact same age as another snake, sibling of their clutch, is 1,000 grams.
Yeah. And I think there's 2 things going on here, Stephen, is I think that in Africa, just as there is with other reptiles, I believe that certain snakes have, just like salmon, we talk about Leviathan, back to your name. The salmon, when I'm catching salmon, the really big salmon have genetically big genetics. Their parents are genetically big. Just as humans and everything else, is that it's the same as snakes. Some snakes are designed to be small, some snakes are designed to be medium, and some are designed to be very, very large. Like Colossus is our 4K animal, and she's probably from a part of Africa that is genetically bigger than most parts of the African. But what I'm saying to you is that when we're breeding and selling snakes, it's very interesting to see amongst our collection where those original snakes came from, what part of Africa they came from, because some of them are going to be, you know what I'm saying? So I think there's that going on as well. So I think what we're going to do is we've got to read each snake as we see it. We've got to be as chilled as possible. Don't panic if they don't take food for a few weeks. A snake can go a long time without food. I mean, a hatchling can't go for masses and masses of time, but a mature adult can go for 18 months without food. Did you know that? 18 months.
We've heard someone who had a snake go over a year off food and lost maybe 20 grams the whole time. Crazy.
I got a friend who had a snake that was 2.8 kilograms and didn't eat for 18 months. And it dropped down to about 1.8. He lost a kilogram in weight in 18 months. But he was so happy when it went back on food, it stressed him out.
Yeah.
But it taught me a principle here that as newcomers into the hobby, don't get too stressed if you've got a mature adult or a mature sub-adult that goes off food for a while. It's not a biggie. Whereas when I came in, I was panicking. I was panicking when my snake stopped eating. A couple of my snakes stopped eating. And I just learned as a beginner, we do that. It's a natural process that we do panic. But we can just chill and relax and say, look, as long as they're substantial, they'll be fine. And not to worry, because they'll come back on food when they're ready to eat. And we can still tweak things and change. There are things we can do to make it nicer for them and make it, we use paper towels on most of our animals, but when I had one girl that was really fussy, and there's two girls that were really fussy, I gave them cocoa husk and they started eating. Mm-hmm. So there are things that you can do. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, so let's just let me see where we are now. I just wanted to we covered your YouTube channel. Let's see what else. We went through your beautiful website, and I love the ideas on there of pre-selling your clutches by actually telling people what your projects are, and people can then go on a list. And I think you just got to be careful there, haven't you, with the people that want to come on clutch lists, because some people put their names down and they don't honor their...
Yeah, and we have quite a few people on that list, so I'm sure that
we're not going to be able to...
We're not even going to be able to fill everyone's...
Okay.
If everyone was...
To buy. Not everybody will buy, but yeah.
Okay, fine. And then if we say with Instagram, we've got... Oh yeah, very quickly, I did a little bit of family research on your family. Now, Stephen's surname is Caps. Apparently, you're from England, Lincolnshire.
Yeah.
Descendants from Le Capre of Ancourt, the Balwick of Court, Normandy. So that would be France. So originally, there must have been the Normans came into the UK. And then from the UK, they went to Ireland. From Ireland, they went to the States, because that's the history, I think, of the family. And there's lots of different ideas as to what that means. Alternatively, the name could have been derived from an occupation in the capper, a maker or dealer of caps, probably made of woolen cloth, though felt was used. And there's your coat of arms. So you've got the three...
interesting. I tried to trace his stuff a while back because I accidentally signed up for Ancestry.com and paid for it, so I had to make the most of it. I know my family, so it was interesting to look up his.
Yeah, I think it's fascinating. There's another variation on this one. They say that it could come through the German line of Cappus.
Well,
and that could also be...
super German, so maybe we're related.
Okay, and that's a name for a cabbage grower, apparently.
Well, good.
These are all the different definitions. I found this quite funny, actually, because all these different people are using CAPS as a acronym definition. So,
oh, cool.
This one, there's 25,000 people that bear the surname, and most of them are in the United States. But this is the thing that surprised me a little bit, is the highest density of your family name is in the Isle of Man, which is near Manchester in the United Kingdom, which is near us.
That's interesting.
And then here's your geographical map, so you can see what's bright red. Where you see the bright red is where your name. So Australia, United States, Canada. Is that? I'm trying to think. What's over here to the far left there? Is that Alaska?
The far left. That's Alaska. That's part of America.
So you've got Alaska there, yeah. And anything that's in. So there's your geographical split where the family are based, and 24,000 people in the United States carry your surname.
Oh wow, popular.
And 795 in England, and it shows you the list there. And then also on your side, we've got a little bit of coat of arms for Clemmer. And again, the Clemmer is tied to an ancient Anglo-Saxon culture in England, so your ancestors either come from Europe. It comes from the given name Clement, which means the son of Clement. The name in Latin, this is what I love, the definition here, it means mild or merciful individual. So you're a mild or merciful individual. And it gained popularity in the medieval European time. And there we go. So there's a little bit of information on your family. That's your family map. So you can see, again, very strong in the United States and Canada.
Less.
Yeah. And then over here, United States, 4,600. Canada 253, Israel 55, France 26. So there we go.
Very cool.
And this is now just where we haven't explained to our viewers where you're from, actually, because I was trying to work out where you're from. Now, I've done a map of the United States, and I believe you're on the border of South Carolina and Georgia, which is down near just north of Florida.
Yep.
Yeah, which is a beautiful location. Now, I've done some maps here. We've got the Masters Golf is played at Augusta. We watch that every year. I like my golf.
Oh, cool.
So, yeah. And you can see the map there. Now, are you quite close to Augusta, or are you more towards
Yes,
South
20
Carolina?
minutes. Yeah, 20 minutes away from Augusta. So
Okay,
we
perfect.
avoid it during Masters Week.
It's too
Yeah,
busy.
I can understand that. And here is a satellite picture of Augusta. You can see the golf course to your left there. There's a river running through, and there's a border between South Carolina and Georgia. That river must be the border, I'm guessing.
Yeah. Fun fact about the Masters. So the Masters in Augusta, it is probably like the thing that Augusta is most well known for, but it is almost cult-like in how secretive it is. Like, they have these massive hedges because they don't want the regular people of Augusta to even look at the golf course.
Yeah, my dad just drove into the Masters golf course one time because he wanted to look at it, and they acted like he had breached Fort Knox. He just turned into the golf. Yeah,
But yeah, it is
that's a
like
beautiful picture of
that
Augusta.
is.
Just
Yeah.
like that.
So that's, yeah. And there you go. There's the classic pictures that we see on TV. It's always a dream to be able to play around a golf there, but to get on there, you've got to be worth a bob or two, I reckon, to play on there. And
So
I
there's
always,
actually in Graniteville, South Carolina, which is 15 to 20 minutes away from Augusta, there's actually an even more exclusive golf club called Sage Creek or Sage Valley, Sage Creek Golf Course. And the reason it's so much more exclusive is the person who founded it wasn't allowed to golf in the Masters course or something like that. Like, he wasn't allowed in one day, and he got so mad, and he was wealthy enough that he decided to make his own golf course that was better, and they wouldn't be allowed in his own golf course. So
The Masters is also like really, really intense on like trademark stuff. So like Augusta, the Masters is the big thing for there, but they've like legit like sued local
businesses
for talking about the Masters and like putting it in their materials for like.
Yeah, like someone will be like, "Oh, here's they'll make a map of Augusta and they'll include the Masters logo over on the Masters course, and they'll sue them to take that off."
They are not. The Masters isn't very popular with the actual people who live in Augusta.
Yeah.
that's a shame. That's such a shame, isn't it? That
But they
they're
make
that way.
they make Augusta beautiful for
Yeah,
that week.
Yeah. Do you recognise this place here,
Is that Hilton Head or Charleston?
Charleston?
Yeah.
Okay.
Beautiful town, Palm Beach.
Isn't that beautiful?
We are located. So
2 hours from Charleston.
yeah, 2 hours from Charleston, like 2 hours from Asheville, which is like the mountains. So we're like 2 hours from the beach, 2 hours from the mountains, 2 hours from like Atlanta or Charlotte. Like, we're in a pretty good location.
Well, which that might not seem very close to someone in the UK, but that's really good for the US. we have quite the.
Main Squeeze thinks the bastards sound like dicks, is what he says. I don't know why that came out like that. Okay, so he went a year and a half without food, one of his animals. My goodness me. Sorry, I was just picking up on the comments, but yeah, let's just run through some of the. I'd like to see some of the locations near you guys. That's a beautiful looking bridge, and that's lovely. That's historic plantation.
Oh, no, that's in South Carolina.
Grand Oak, yeah.
Oh yeah.
And there you have a plantation house there.
There's a
I
lot
thought
of those.
I thought I'd show you the architecture in there. And now this is kind of an interesting place. Very pretty. So this is the Greenville.
Is that
sits
Greenville?
in the sits in the foot of the Blue Ridge Mountains apparently. Beautiful, beautiful. And that looks very inviting.
Clarks Hill?
So
Like Kanoe. Yeah.
yeah. Is that very far from you guys, or is that going to be a good 2 or 3 hours?
If it's Clarks Hill, I don't.
It says upstate Lake.
Oh, it's probably about an hour and a half or so.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
If it's in the upstate.
So there's the Blue Ridge Mountains of the States. I won't say Virginia because that's going to be South Carolina, isn't it? So that's gorgeous. That is another angle of it, but you've got the beautiful forest leading up to the mountains. It's a beautiful countryside.
Park near Greenville,
Yeah.
We're about 2 hours from Greenville too.
Yeah. This is Columbia South. Is this a university here? They play.
That's the capital.
That's the capital. Yeah.
Yep, that's the Capitol building.
This picture I found interesting. It's a pretty chapel that's overlooking the.
So that is in the mountains, and that is a very popular place for people to like renew their vows or get married or do any kind of ceremony. And it is very popular. I'm trying to remember the name of it. A Pretty Place is what it's called. And so I had a coworker who she realized it was it was booked too much to get there at sunset. So she's like, well, I'll just do sunrise instead. And I had to explain to her that the sunrise would not be in the background. It would be on the other side of the...
Yeah. When we do these shows, I always like, from a UK perspective, because some of our UK visitors and people that haven't been to the States like to get a feel and flavour for where you're living. So I hope you don't mind me sharing these pictures.
Oh, yeah. No, not at all.
Not my house.
Okay. Now, this is one of your favourite dishes in South Carolina, which is a shrimp and grits. So I'm interested because I love my seafood, and I hear you guys got great seafood. So if we come and visit, then I'm looking forward to trying some of your seafood.
We got some good food. We'll get some shrimp and grits.
Okay, that'd be nice. And here you've got a very famous peaches. Now, that tells me your climate must be lovely if you can grow peaches that good, because these peaches...
Sandy soil and good
weather. In the spring, because there's like peach orchards pretty much all around like the area we live in, they'll like blossom and it's just beautiful.
So we ride motorcycles and we'll go up and down the peach orchards.
Yeah. Well, I'm half Italian, so when I go to Italy, my parents and family, they live up in the mountains. They grow peaches that are so big and succulent. They take the Italian sun, and they're the best peaches I've ever tasted in my life. And you pick it off a tree and eat it. It is absolutely beautiful. And if I come to your place, I want to sample your food, sample the peaches. You know, there's a lot there for me to enjoy. Besides the beautiful countryside, the fishing. Are there any? Yeah. There are some shows as well near you as well, because you've been going to a few local shows.
Yeah. So we got, for local shows, it's like Grovetown, Georgia is like our local hometown show. There's also Columbia, South Carolina, which Columbia is pretty cool because it's one of the only shows in the area that has like hot
venomous.
Yeah, venomous, where you can buy them at that show.
Okay.
We don't do anything with venomous.
It's just that's the only.
If you want to buy a rattlesnake or a copperhead or something, you can get them at that show.
Yeah. But it looks like your climate must be really beautiful, though, because if you're producing such beautiful fresh seafood and you've got beautiful... I mean, to me, that's part and parcel of the culture of experiencing and visiting your state, is to actually live like the locals, enjoy the food that you guys eat, visit the places that need to be visited.
We'll bring you to Savannah because that's got some good food.
Oh, yeah.
When I saw Savannah, I thought, because we're shooting for the Savannahs on our clutches this year, we've got a Savannah clutch that's coming. In fact, she's going to be the first one to give us Savannah's Mojave Cinnamon 100% het ultra males are on their way. We've got 3 weeks before our first clutch is here. So when I saw Savannah, it made me chuckle a little bit. Yeah. Now here, you probably wouldn't have seen this. This is in Columbia, South Carolina. This is the temple. Mandy and I travel around the world. There's 150 temples in our church that we've only visited about 30 of them. There's 120. So when we come and visit, we'd probably combine it with a visit to the temple. And you've got one in South Carolina temple, and this one is based in Atlanta, Georgia. So they're the two nearest temples that Mad and I would love to visit. Yeah.
Atlanta is 2.5 hours from us, and Columbia is an hour from us. And so those would be right around us.
That'd be great. And these are the things that we were going to talk about. Let's make sure we've hit all the boxes. How you both got into reptiles, your breeding plans and progress. So I think your breeding seems to be going really well. All I'm seeing is videos with lots of locking going on, which tells me that you're doing something right. Because Stephen's getting very excited when he's seeing his sunsets locking all the time. I'm thinking, he must be so looking forward to what's going to be happening in the next few months. It must be so exciting for you guys. But you've got other beautiful projects as well, because we haven't gone through all the other projects. But what's your favourite project, Courtney? What's the one that you're really looking forward to?
Mine is Freeway, so I'm in Asphalt and Freeway. That's the big
Yeah.
one that I'm moved towards. And then,
Yeah.
I mean, I am excited for the Sunsets as well, but all those Asphalt, Super Asphalt, and Freeway.
Yeah. And your grow-ons from 2020 and 2021, are they all doing pretty good?
Yeah, I could show maybe one if you'd like to see them.
Yes, please.
We held
Yeah.
back 5 animals, 3 females and 2 males, and they're all doing really well. We have some really big ones that eat really, really well. We're about to move them into a 5540, a much larger rack. They're just still in our hatchling rack at the moment. But so this is our banana blade clown female. That's the one Steven's probably most excited about this past year. She was really exciting because she proved out that we had our banana was blade. Our banana head clown was blade. So this is Fiona, and she's in a lot of our pictures because she's so pretty. She's got such good color. And then we have our biggest one is just a leopard head albino, but we had thought we were going to have leopard albinos in the clutch, and our male ended up not proving out to be actually het for albino. So she is now the only leopard head albino we have. So I'm excited to pair her to our toffee or candy boy and get leopard toffee nose.
That'd be lovely.
In a couple years.
We've got a leopard albino girl that's a stunner, and she gave us one.
I was
Yeah.
so disappointed when she didn't
She gave us. I think she gave us 1 egg last year. We've got a lovely
wow.
we've got a lovely albino boy that's 100% het for pied, but this year I'm hoping that she's big enough to give us a much bigger clutch, and we'll see what she produces. But she's carrying that leopard and albino. So what Courtney's saying there is top dollar. And when you start putting black genes into the albinos and the the gene schools,
This is a male we held back that we were really excited for because he's exactly what we wanted. He's a banana hidden gene Morma calico Enchi. So we're going to be making bonfires and campfires.
Yeah, I love banana and calico. What a lovely combination. When you put Enchi and pastel in there as well, beautiful. Well, good luck with that project. But all your grounds are coming on really well. So give it another, next year, hopefully. Some of them will be ready.
Yeah, I think like 23 season would be like the one where they would be like earliest where they could go, as long as they're all like growing well.
Yeah. Penelope has been an angel tonight. I mean, honestly, there's been hardly any noise. You guys have just got it down to perfect. But she's probably going to want feeding soon, so we're almost close. Thank you so much for tonight, because we're almost close to wrapping up. And thank you to all our viewers that have been with us. We've had over 24 viewers at one point, which for us is a big one for us. And I want to thank you guys for joining us. I think we're very close now to wrapping up. So what I wanted to do is just make sure we've covered challenges and opportunities. Is the one thing that we've not really touched on too much. We can maybe spend a couple of minutes on any challenges that you guys have faced and how you've overcome it, and how you could help new people coming in to troubleshoot any particular problems. Because I found when I came in, it's a lot harder than what people make out. I mean, there's so many issues. We've had storm issues, we've had temperature issues, we've imported snakes. We imported one snake with an RI issue, and I had to learn how to treat an RI snake. That wasn't very pleasant. And we've had, in my early days, we've had mites come into my side of the collection, which took me nearly 6 weeks to sort out. Luckily, we're completely clean, and we've been clean for about 2 years now. But I never ever want to see a mite enter my collection. We've got 160 snakes, and if a mite goes in there, believe you me, it's a lot of work. So we're being very, very careful with. Well, that's one of the reasons why I haven't bought anything this year, is because I've got so many lovely snakes, and I'm a little bit scared in case someone gives me a mite issue. I know that sounds really negative, but I had one breeder that sold me a snake that had a hidden mite, and I didn't realise it, and it spread through 20 snakes, and it took me 6 weeks to sort out. But these are the kind of things that I think anyone coming in should be fully made aware of. It's almost like a baptism of fire when you have these experiences. It isn't always plain sailing, and there are some real challenges out there. Have you experienced anything yourselves, or have you been very lucky to avoid a lot of these silver bullets?
We had a snake with mites early on, and it did make us better about not only quarantining our animals, but quarantining them correctly in a room that wasn't the same, and not handling animals that are in quarantine together. So if like you have one animal in quarantine, you don't handle them both at this. Like if you have two animals in quarantine, you don't handle them together, even though they're both in quarantine. So it really helped us with our quarantining.
Yeah.
I think another thing for us was buying snakes to buy snakes. That was a challenge that we had to work around, where we had things that just didn't fit into any kind of like project. And I think advice that was given to us early on is that a female is always valuable. It doesn't matter what she is, as long as she lays a clutch, she is valuable to you. And so like you can buy a normal female or a just single gene female like a pastel or an Enchi, and that will always be valuable, and you should never sell that. But that isn't really the case for us, because we have those clutches aren't producing animal. We don't wholesale, for example. So we do have a lot of single gene animals that come from our other clutches, and so we have those single gene animals to sell. We have pastels, we have Enchis, we have just single gene bananas already. So just a clutch full of them is a lot harder for us to move, and it's really not worth it to us to keep breeding those animals. So those animals that we bought, because they were just a really good deal, even though they were just a single gene female, weren't as valuable to us as people made them out to be. So we had to, work around that and find homes for those. Well, so we ended up selling like a couple of females and males that we shouldn't have purchased to begin with.
This is tying to that point, and then one challenge from like my kind of perspective on it. So this comes from Bob Vu. While we were down there, he was talking about that Bob's really meticulous, and not just on like caring for his animals, but on like analysis of like how they function towards like a business. And he says that if he can't pair a female to a male that's roughly the same level as her, so not necessarily like a super, super high-end one, but same level of female, same level of male together, and the clutch is probably not going to break $1,000, that's when he knows that that animal is something that he needs to pass on to somebody who's newer into the hobby.
So we have some that we'll never sell because for sentimentality, but there are, like for example, our Silk Gene Clown male. Very, very quickly, he is not going to be valuable to us because we have much more powerful clown males. I'm not going to sell him. He was our first clown clutch. He was one of the first like visual recessives that I love him. He has a name. He's never going anywhere kind of deal. But we did have like an Enchi het clown, which we were like, what on earth are we going to pair him to? Why would we pair him to when we have so little things like that.
We had a robot that came in and tried to disrupt the speech tonight, and I was just about to block him, and when I went to block him, when the chat moves up, I pressed main squeeze put a comment on right after. As I hit the block button, poor old main squeeze got blocked out. So I'm so sorry about that, main squeeze. So I don't know even how to get him back on, so apologies for that, but I'm learning how to block people. But people send robots to your chat and they try to send stuff in there, and I've been told to block them out, but unfortunately because the chat's moving up and down, so I think I'm hoping that main squeeze can still enjoy the show, and I do apologize. I'm going to have to try and work out how to unblock you, main squeeze. Sorry, it was my fault, my end. No, thank you so much for sharing that with us, because it reminds me, Jared and I had a session last week where we've got a limited number of rubs in our facility, and I think it's probably good and wise to do this every year, is to go through exactly what you want to keep and what you need to really sell, because it's hard, because a lot of them are pets, and they're the ones that are pets we're never going to sell, even if they're single genes, because we love them too much to sell them. But there are others that have come from clutches which maybe are het for something, but they are normal looking. To us, they're valuable because they're hets, they're recessive hets. But it's not easy to sell some single gene, no gene, single het, recessives. And so you've got to make a decision how you're going to actually make room for your next set of ball pythons that are coming. So there's policies that you can do. Now, obviously, we've got connections with friends and family that want to keep animals, which we can give as a gift. And so that's one way of actually putting them in a safe home and helping people get into
this.
this.
One we did.
Mm-hmm.
We had one of the very first snakes I bought was a banana pastel lesser female, who turned out to be a male, and he's also my sister's favorite of all of our snakes. So we don't have a use for him as a male. So that's my sister's pet snake. So
okay. That's a really good idea. I just want to welcome, I think we've got 403 Fauna in the house. So that'll be, I think, Mark's in the house. Mark. So when we're welcome. And you guys are connected to Mark. Lovely guy. I really like his channel. He's got a lovely YouTube channel. Go give him some love, guys. And Old Devil Ball Pythons come in.
Devil,
so, yeah, the Old Devil. You guys know him. And Blue Ridge is back up on there again. I'm a horrible audience member. Exhaustion hit, and I slept through about an hour of the live.
Oh, no. Come on.
Don't worry, you can always go back and look at it, but hopefully, so it's quite funny. And let's have a little look. Yeah, okay. So, thank you for sharing some of the challenges. Opportunities going forward, I think I can see, where do you want to take your hobby? What's your plan over the next, say, 5 to 10 years? Where do you see yourselves going? I mean, we never asked the question. You built this facility. If you don't mind me asking, because there are people out there that are considering building a facility. You don't have to answer this one, but it's just to help people with their budgeting. What would they need to budget to build a facility like yours in terms of dollars, would you say? Would it be like...
So we did ours. We did a lot of the labor ourselves. Everything all together from pretty much ground up, because there's like a foundation too. It cost us a little bit less than $15,000.
So that was with a concrete slab, a pre-built building that included all of our like drywall supplies, everything down to the paint is what that includes. And it is something that added on value to our home as well. So that was like another reason that we were comfortable spending that money.
I do want to say real quick though that a lot of the reason why we did a lot of it ourselves is when we got quotes from contractors, a lot of contractors were absolutely ridiculous in their pricing. Like the very first contractor that we got a hold of to like have them build all of it, like literally from ground up, they were just going to handle everything. They'd quote us $60,000. And then when we were looking at like if we got a pre-built shed, but then we had like somebody come in and wire it, the electrician to wire it, they quoted us like $8,000 just to wire the shed and hook it up to the house, and we could have gotten it pre-wired from for $500. Don't be afraid if you are going through this like process of building out something to get multiple different opinions.
And also, if you are not handy, don't let that discourage you. Stephen, I kid you not, one time he tried to fix the lawnmower. My lawnmower needed like new spark plugs. He brings a hammer and a screwdriver outside and he's like, I'm going to fix the lawnmower. Hammer and a screwdriver. So if he can learn simple wiring and he can help like learn to drywall and stuff, you can too. That's your motivation.
YouTube.
Well, you know what? I like that, and thank you for that, because you and I are sharing such a similar journey. We built our facility 18 months ago during lockdown, and we got bulldozers in, we got all the heavy duty stuff in. We got a quote from a contractor, which was twice the price of what it actually cost us to do. And during lockdown, with all my family being at home, because the university students were, they were... two of my sons at uni. I've got a son that's Jared that works with me on both businesses, and then I've got my daughter Emily, who's a veterinary nurse trainee, and then I've got my daughter down in Cornwall. So I thought, why don't we just build we couldn't go on holiday, so we built a swimming pool to start with, and we built a pump house for the swimming pool. And it's a massive swimming pool. It's about 32 feet long, 16 feet wide. It took a lot of work, a lot of hard work from the family, and we built it ourselves. And I'm very lucky in my business. I've got clients that help me. So if I've got builders in my books, I look after them. They look after me, because if I need someone to show me how to lay a brick or show me how to build block work, and we got a friend that's a builder that came over and helped us, and we laid the foundations. We put in the foundations, then we did all the block work, Jared's very good with timber. He did all the carpentry. He built the roof. My boys got on the top and put the felting on the top. We did all the insulation. We got a friend who's one of my clients who's an electrician, came over and did the electrics. And we did the whole facility, which is, it's got the capacity to hold 400 snakes. It's a decent sized facility. I mean, it's big. And it's a big project. It's about 40 square meters at the end of the day. So it's 10 by 4. I mean, it's a good size. We probably did that for about £20,000.
That's wow.
Yeah.
So that's about $25,000 to do that.
Yeah.
And that's a solid brick build with windows and doors.
Wow. Nice.
Now, that's because we did it as a family. What I'm saying to you is that there's different ways of doing things, but I think that sometimes if you can pull a few favours from friends and you've got a few connections and you're willing to roll up your sleeves and get in and muck in. Now, what I'm going to do on one of my videos is I had to get retrospective planning on it because I live in a listed building. And I didn't realise that an outbuilding needs to be part of that listing. And so when I spoke to the local planners, they said to me, as long as it's within 40 square metres, that's the maximum you can build without planning permission. I went on that, and one of my neighbours complained, and I had a 6-month battle. We thought we'd have to tear it all down. I didn't tell my viewers this last year. I was hoping and praying that we'd get retrospective planning on it. I had to get an architect, because we did it all off the back end of a piece of paper. We didn't have an architect do it all. We just literally did it. I had to get a friend architect to do all the drawings, which I've now got available, which I can share with the community if they want to do a bit self-build.
That's really cool.
And took us 6 months of negotiation. I had to go and represent myself to all the planners. There was 10 people sat around the table. And I went in during COVID, and I had all my speech all laid up, ready to argue my corner. And the neighbours didn't turn up. It's one of these local parish meetings where the neighbours get a chance to voice their opinion. They didn't bother to turn up. I had prepared my notes and I screwed them up and spoke from the heart, and I said to them, I do apologise that we're having to go retrospective planning on this because I did think it was within permitted development. So I started with an apology, and then I said, we'll do whatever it takes to adjust the building so it fits in with your recommendation. And that was it, really. It was a really heartfelt, open communication. And 10 planners, the chairman stood up and said, we know your neighbours. They're well known to us. Not for the right reasons, of course. They're just people that complain all the time, just complain. In other words, they complained about everyone for the last 20 years. So they know, they're very well known. And this is the first time we've ever had a dispute with our neighbours on this. And anyway, he said, I'm going to sustain your development. And he put his hand up and said, I'm not going to ask you to make any adjustments, but I'm going to allow you to have full planning permission from my end. Would anyone like to second that? There was 10 people sat around the table, and every single person that used to work for the council, planning officers, sustained the chairman without any exceptional conditions.
Oh, that's cool. That's awesome.
Amanda and I held our hands that evening, went out for a moonlit walk down by Mudderford Quay on the beach, and we held hands eating food together. And I said to Mandy, we've had a tough year last year. If I won't even go there. If I told you what we've had to beat through with all the family issues and planning issues, and I mean, you might see me on the channel being very positive, and underneath it all, I'm a swan paddling really hard. And what I'm saying is that in life, these challenges are sent to try us, but in reality, if we take one problem at a time and don't let them immobilize us, in other words, take one problem at a time. Once that problem's taken care of, move on to the next, because that's what I'm doing with my life right now. I've taken care of one problem, but we've got some really exciting things going forwards. And, I just think it's a beautiful way to, and I'm so grateful because when we built that facility, it wasn't about the building, it was about the family that built it. Because I was building the family, not just the project, if you get my drift. And I noticed when you did your video in your facility, you were building your family because, Courtney's parents came over. I saw that you had everyone with a paintbrush, and you were doing the electrics, and you were sorting out loads of stuff. And I loved it because Stephen, even though maybe Courtney's saying you're like me, you're not perhaps a do-it-yourself person. Mandy's more do-it-yourself than I am, to be honest with you. I'm more the technical person, and I'm not so practical. But I got my hands dirty. I got in there and I did what I could, and we've got a beautiful end result, as you have. So my hat's off to you for that, guys. Really, thank you for sharing your story on that one. So I think we're just about there now. Thank you so much. Challenges, we've shared your social media. We've talked about your filming and editing, ideas for selling. I know we spoke about some ideas on how to sell snakes and building loyalty. So I think we've covered most of those topics. Was there anything you wanted to cover yourselves?
No, I think we're all good. Man. Thank you so much for having us on, by the way.
Thank you. You've been fantastic. Now, next week we've got Green Room Pythons.
Oh, awesome.
Now, he's coming on the show. He's a real character. I mean, you guys have probably watched some of his videos. So
oh, yeah, we love him.
His name is Bob Bledsoe. He is a lovely guy. He's got a brother called Clint that's always making me laugh.
He's got a brother named Kent.
Yeah.
Yeah. So is it Kent? I thought it was Clint. It's Kent, isn't it? Sorry, it's Kent.
My bad.
Yeah. You're right. There we go. There's Bob. So I'm looking forward to having Bob on the channel next week. But let me just say thank you to you, Stephen, and thank you, Courtney, and thank you, Penelope, for being an angel tonight. It's been an absolute privilege to have you guys on the show. Thank you for sharing your journey. I'm sure we'll get together. If you do go for the lives, I'm always available, so hit me up, and I'd love to return the compliment. And if we do come and visit your beautiful, you're actually in South Carolina. You're on the border, aren't you? But you're based in South Carolina, near Augusta.
Just let us know if you're anywhere near us. We'll come.
We'd really love that. And it sounds like the food out there is particularly good as well. So I do, being half Italian, I do love my food. So thank you so much. Now we're just going to want to say thank you to all our guests as well, all our friends that have joined us, and actually just to make sure we've got Lego Home Geckos. Now are they friends on your side or?
Yeah, Jennifer, they live very close to us.
Oh, lovely.
They helped us with the shed.
Mm-hmm.
Did they? Well, thank you so much. Thank you for coming and joining us tonight. And just make sure I haven't missed anyone out, I want to thank everyone for being wonderful tonight. I do apologise for blocking main squeeze reptiles tonight. It wasn't intentional. I haven't learnt how to put it back on. GP Gershon has said I've got to click on his name to restore him. Problem is, when I go on his name, I can't open it. So I'm going to have to Google that for next week so main squeeze reptiles can join us, because I don't want you to feel blocked out. You're definitely welcome here. So I think that's about it. So let's end with my outro, if that's okay. But I want everyone to go and give Courtney and Stephen lots of love. Jump on their media, on their YouTube channel, on their Instagram if you're not already there, and check out their website. Thank you so much, guys, for being here tonight, and we'll just close out with my outro here. So. Lovely. Right, so we'll say good night. So good night, Stephen. Thank you for joining us tonight. It's very kind of you guys to give us so much of your love and attention and time. And we look forward to catching up with you next time we get together.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Well, you'll have to come to Tinley or something. I don't know if you're going to go this year at any point, but we'll have to meet up. Tinley or Daytona.
Yeah, so the plan is that Jad and I want to do the worldwide shows, and we do that. We're going to link up with all the Canadian and American friends we've got over there so that we can actually meet each other personally at the shows, if nowhere else. I think it might be a year or two before we're able to do that, because I'm scheduled to have my hip done in the next 6 months, and also I've got to be careful with the COVID still out there, because I'm being careful. I've waited nearly 3 years for this operation, and if I end up catching COVID before the op, it's going to mean another big long wait. So as soon as I'm healthy and strong, and hopefully we're under control with the COVID, then my plan is to visit the US and Canada. Awesome. We'd love to do that, Stephen. Thank you very much indeed. So good night to all our followers out there. Thank you for joining us tonight. And I'm just going to, if it's okay with you, Stephen, maybe have a minute or two at the end of the show, if that's possible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone, and we'll say good night.